Chapter 934. The more they danced, the more Ling Qinyu felt that even though the person in front of her was average-looking, his dancing skills were really good. Even though they had only rehearsed once, every movement and step of his had the demeanor of an international celebrity. He didn't look like a beginner at ballroom dancing at all. Moreover, his elegant movements and smooth dance steps made Xiao Yi's originally ordinary appearance shine with a layer of brilliance, giving him an indescribably charming temperament. As the audience watched, they gradually calmed down. The boos and curses lessened and were replaced by envious gazes. Even though they didn't understand ballroom dancing, Xiao Yi's graceful dance and Ling Qinyu's beautiful appearance complemented each other. Even those who didn't understand ballroom dancing found it pleasing to the eye. In the end, many girls stared at Xiao Yi as if they were infatuated with him. They even cheered and screamed. After the two of them performed a highly difficult maneuver, the background music suddenly stopped, and Xiao Qin and Ling Qinyu's performance came to an end. The two of them walked to the front of the stage for a curtain call, and the students below the stage all stood up and gave them a warm round of applause, expressing their admiration for them. "I didn't know that you were so good at pretending. You're so good at dancing, but you have to pretend that you don't know." After they got off the stage and returned to room 1, Ling Qinyu glared at Xiao Chen and said unhappily, "I'm not pretending. Didn't I tell you that I'm a fast learner? I only need to watch once or twice to master it." Xiao Chen explained helplessly as he followed Ling Qinyu out of the room. Xiao Chen also understood that Ling Qinyu had doubts in her heart. After all, he had danced so well that she almost became a supporting character. "Only a ghost would believe you. You have a glib tongue and never speak a word of truth. No wonder you were able to trick the two girls into falling head over heels for you and make them follow you willingly. But I won't fall for it, save it." Ling Qinyu curled her lips and glared at Xiao Chen. She was a little angry in her heart. She hated liars the most. This Xiao Chen was not only a womanizer, but also a two-timer. Now he was even pretending to deceive her. Ling Qinyu hated him even more. Xiao Chen was speechless. Miss and Ling Qinxue were both willing. He didn't lie to them. Why did Ling Qinyu make it sound like he was a scammer? "Alright, now that the performance is over, don't follow me. Such a dishonest person, I really don't know what Yao Yao likes about you." Ling Qinyu quickened her pace and turned around to look at Xiao Chen with disdain. She muttered, "I hate guys like you who can pretend the most. It's not like I want you to like me. Besides, this path is the only way to room 3. If we don't take this path, how else can we go back? How ridiculous." Xiao Chen heard every single word that Ling Qinyu said. He was a little angry and retorted stiffly. He felt that Ling Qinyu's attitude had changed a little too quickly. Just now, when she needed his help, she begged and begged young miss to help her out of goodwill. In the end, after the performance ended, she turned her back on him. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have helped her. She caused so much trouble for no reason. Ling Qinyu was stunned. She was also confused by Xiao Chen. Before, she was worried that the performance would be messed up. But this guy in front of her was obviously good at dancing, but he didn't tell her in advance. He even said he didn't know how to dance. She was so worried and almost made a fool out of herself. But when she calmed down and thought about it, Ling Qinyu felt that her words were a little harsh. So she softened her tone and said to Xiao Chen, "But thank you. I can see Yao Yao likes you very much, you don't let her down. As for that Ling Xiaoxue, you can't handle her. She's not an ordinary girl. I advise you to leave as soon as possible. It'll only be good for you." "Thank you for your kindness. But if I let her go, do you think I'll come looking for you?" Xiao Chen looked at Ling Qinyu and joked. Xiao Chen knew that Ling Qinyu wasn't a bad person. She was just a little stubborn. He was like this when he was protecting her. Now that he was Xiao Yi, he was still like this. If you don't listen, then do whatever you want. I can't be bothered with you. You don't know how to appreciate my kindness." Ling Qinyu rolled her eyes and quickened her steps to get away from Xiao Chen. She walked toward the exit of the backstage. She was going to turn around the corner and go to the auditorium to watch the rest of the performance. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly. He was used to Ling Qinyu's personality, so he didn't mind. He turned around and entered room 3. The gala continued. The popularity of Ling Qinyu's dance hadn't died down yet, so the audience was in high spirits. They were looking forward to the performance of the new campus belle, Su Chuxia. However, the school knew what the audience was thinking, so they purposely arranged Su Chuxia's performance at the end. It was equivalent to the finale, so that the audience could continue to enjoy the performance instead of leaving after watching the two campus belles' performances. Su Chuxia's performance was a love song duet with a guy from the faculty who wasn't very outstanding but had a good voice. However, while she was waiting backstage, she received an unexpected piece of news. The guy who sang the duet called and said that his father suddenly fell seriously ill and was rushing to the hospital. He couldn't participate in the performance, so he asked Su Chuxia to find someone else to replace him. Su Chuxia was dumbfounded. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Why did he have to fall sick right before the performance? It would be her turn in a few more performances. Where was she supposed to find someone else in such a short time? Chuxia, why are you spacing out here alone? Your performance is the finale of the night. Are you ready? Where's the partner who's going to perform with you? A man's voice suddenly sounded, and Su Chuxia turned around to see that it was Shuigao. Although he looked calm, Shuigao was actually very pleased. He waited backstage for the whole night and finally Su Chuxia received a call. As expected, after she put down the phone, her expression changed. Actually, this love song duet was arranged by Shuigao, and the boy was also threatened by him, so he voluntarily gave up on the performance and lied to Su Chuxia. Otherwise, who wouldn't want to perform with the new school belle on the same stage as her? He can't make it. Su Chuxia stammered. Suddenly she turned around and walked backstage. As she walked, she said, "If that's the case, I'll cancel my performance. Since I don't have a partner now and I can't perform the duet alone, I'll let the production team know." Chapter 935. Su Chuxia suddenly realized that it might be a good thing that her partner couldn't come. She didn't want to perform on stage anyway, so she could take this opportunity to cancel the show. Don't. You can't cancel it. It'll be embarrassing for our faculty if you cancel it. I'm still here, right? Since that kid can't come, let Senior Ice Cream take his place. Shuigao was shocked. He quickly stopped Su Chuxia and recommended himself. If Su Chuxia canceled the show, wouldn't all his plans go to waste? Su Chuxia was stunned. She looked at Shuigao in surprise. Did she hear wrong? How could this person be so shameless? Shuigao didn't know what Su Chuxia was thinking. He struck a pose, tossed his hair and said proudly, "Don't doubt me. You should know that I'm the famous prince of love songs in Lan University. There's no love song that I can't sing. Besides, Senior, you look so much more handsome than that kid, don't you? You and your temperament are a perfect match. When you go on stage, you'll definitely cause a sensation." Su Chuxia looked troubled. Shuigao is so thick-skinned, she thought to herself. He clearly looked like a delicate little man, yet he thought he was very handsome. It was simply disgusting. Go where it's cool and stay there. My Chuxia has a spare tire partner. You can line up from here to the school gate 3 times. Since when does a skinny heavy smoker like you have a turn? A lovable shout rang out. Tian Wangchuan suddenly appeared and pushed Shuigao, causing him to stagger. Her face was full of ridicule. You. Shuigao pointed at Tian Wangchuan angrily. He wanted to curse, but he was worried about his image. He took a few deep breaths and pretended to be calm as he sat on a chair. He was pissed. Why does this brat always mess things up? Even though he was scolded, Shuigao didn't say anything. He wanted to see who else dared to be her partner other than him. If you can't find him, you'll still have to beg me. Shuigao had secretly investigated Su Chuxia a long time ago. Su Chuxia didn't have any spare tires in school. She didn't even have many friends. However, he wasn't stupid enough to say it out loud and arouse Su Chuxia's suspicion. Wangchuan, stop messing around. If it doesn't work, I'll go up and sing by myself. Su Chuxia glared at Tian Suruan. Tian Suruan was her best partner, but he didn't dare to go on stage. Don't be anxious. Let Sour Sister think about it. Tian Soren held her chin and narrowed her eyes in thought. Suddenly her eyes lit up. She clapped her hands and said with a smile, "That's right. Aren't we on good terms with that guy? Why don't we find him? He's better than that heavy smoker, isn't he?" Counterattack man? Who is it? Su Chuxia was confused. She blinked her eyes in confusion. She couldn't remember when she had met this person. It's Qing Yaoyao's boyfriend. The guy who counterattacked Ling Xiaoxue. He's called Xiao. Xiao something? Tian Sour scratched her head. She couldn't think of Xiao Yi's name for a long time. Instead, she thought of Xiao Chong. She wondered how Sister Sour's boyfriend was doing. Are you talking about Xiao Yi? Could he do it? I don't think he can sing. Su Chuxia hesitated. What if Xiao Yi was tone deaf? Then wouldn't it be embarrassing for her to sing with him on stage? This guy must have some skills to be able to counterattack Ling Xiaoxue successfully. Don't worry, Sour Sister will take care of it for you. Leave it to me. Tian Sour patted his chest heroically, then picked up his phone to make a call and briefly explain the situation to Xiao Chen. When Xiao Qin heard this, he knew he couldn't refuse. He had already promised Ling Qinyu, so there was no reason to refuse Su Chuxia. So he agreed without hesitation. However, Su Chuxia's love song duet was the finale of the gala. He had to finish the martial arts club's performance first. Chuxia, look, Sister Sour Sour only said a few words and she easily took care of that man. He'll be here soon. Tian Sour Sour put away his phone proudly. Soran, aren't you being too rash? Did you ask Xiao Yi if he can sing? Don't embarrass yourself. Su Chuxia was worried. Don't worry. Tian Sour pointed at Shui Gao and comforted him. Think about it. Even that heavy smoker can sing, so I'm sure counterattack guy can't be any worse. Besides, when the time comes, those loser boys will be head over heels for you. Who will care if he can sing well or not? Trust our sister. This is a world that only cares about appearances. Shui Gao, who was sitting at the side, was furious. He didn't expect that there would be someone who dared to steal his business. What's more, Tian Wangchuan had conveniently ridiculed him. Even though he was lying down, he still got shot. Shui Gao secretly remembered Xiao Yi's name in his heart. Then he pretended to be relaxed as he stood up. He walked a bit further away and secretly called his attendant. He planned to investigate Xiao Yi's background before the show started. Young Master Shui, is there anything you need me to do? Shui Gao's follower Ma Xiaochang quickly ran backstage and asked respectfully. Go investigate someone, his name is Xiao Yi. Find out who he is. Damn it, he actually dared to snatch this young master's woman. I think he must be tired of living. Shui Gao ordered expressionlessly. Xiao Yi. Ma Xiaochang repeated Xiao Yi's name a few times. Suddenly his eyes lit up. I remember. That Xiao Yi is the guy who danced with Ling Qinyu earlier. I was wondering why his name sounded so familiar. Damn it, he's really asking for a beating. Since he dared to snatch my girl, he better not be afraid of the consequences. Shui Gao was even more furious. Such a good flower had been taken by a dog. He had already taken advantage of Ling Qinyu, and he still dared to have designs on Su Chuxia. Did he really think he was an A-list celebrity? Shui Gao had already forgotten that it was Tian Soran who had taken the initiative to look for Xiao Qin. At this time, his heart was burning with anger. He laughed coldly and said, Xiao Chang, I want to cripple that Xiao Yi. Go gather people immediately. Oh, no problem. When do we do it? Ma Xiaochang nodded. It wasn't the first time young Master Shui wanted to cripple someone. He was already used to it. Now, immediately. It's best if we can beat him until he can't even take care of himself. I want to see who else dares to snatch Su Chuxia from me. Shui Gao said fiercely. Do it here? Ma Xiaochang was taken aback and hesitated. Young Master Shui, we aren't prepared yet. Furthermore, it's not good to beat someone up in the school grounds, right? If the school finds out, I'm afraid we won't be able to bear the consequences. Chapter 936. Ma Xiaochang's worry was not without reason. After all, the people who hung out with him were all students. If a fight broke out in an art festival, even Shui Gao would not be able to escape from the school's investigation. Don't you know any people from the streets outside of school? At most, I'll just spend some money. As long as I can settle Xiao Yi, I don't care how much it costs. Shui Gao frowned and asked. This. Ma Xiaochang pondered for a while, then slapped his thigh and said, Right? Brother Wei seems to know a lot of hoodlums outside of school. A few days ago I was drinking with his underlings and they mentioned it. Brother Wei? Shui Gao was stunned and a name appeared in his mind. He said disdainfully, You're talking about Du Rongwei, right? Tiske, seems like he's doing well, even becoming a big brother. Yes, that's him. I heard that he recently became the disciple of a karate master, a person from the streets. And he's really awesome, he even trampled on the president and vice president of some martial arts club. Ma Xiaochang nodded. All right. Then find him for help. After it's done, I won't mistreat him. Shui Gao and Du Rongwei did not have any grudges, so he readily agreed. Since he could find someone from outside of school to make a move, it couldn't be better. Even if he was found out, it didn't matter as long as he didn't implicate himself. All right, I'll contact him now. Ma Xiaochang took out his phone and dialed Du Rongwei's number. In the auditorium, the red-haired guy and the young ninja had also come today. They ate, drank, and played outside every day, and after a while they started to feel bored. Since the Jia family's two spendthrifts were constantly giving them money, the red-haired guy and the rest were instructed to keep a low profile, so they usually had nothing to do and only needed to spend money and have fun. This time, when they heard that there was an art festival in Lan City University, They followed Du Rongwei to see if there were any beauties performing so they could enjoy it. At the same time, the red-haired guy and the young ninja were hoping to hook up with a few innocent female students. Recently, they were a little tired of playing with young models, so they wanted to change their taste. Du Rongwei, let me ask you. The beauty who performed the ballroom dance on stage was called Ling Yu or something. Do you have any contact with her? Help me get one, I want to treat her to a meal and then, hee. Red Hair said to Du Rongwei with an evil smile. I don't have that. But I heard that Ling Qinyu has a powerful background. Her grandfather seems to be the person in charge of some mysterious department. I think it might be a little difficult to ask her out for a meal. Du Rongwei's expression was a little hesitant as he stammered. Back then he also had thoughts about the campus belle Ling Qinyu, but after investigating her background he tactfully backed off. I told you to investigate, so just do it. How could he be so stupid? No matter how powerful the people of the secular world were, could they be more powerful than the masters of the martial arts world? We now have the support of those two experts. Even if that chick's grandfather is from some mysterious department, we'll still make him obedient. Red Hair glared at Du Rongwei and lectured him in exasperation. All right. How could I forget about those two experts? Okay, I'll investigate now. Du Rongwei's eyes lit up as he nodded. He took out his phone and was about to call his underling, but before he could press the button, his phone suddenly rang. Looking at the number displayed on the screen, Du Rongwei was a little confused. Ma Xiaochang? This guy usually hangs out with his underling, why is he looking for me? However, Du Rongwei still pressed the button to accept the call. Hello Ma Xiaochang, what's the matter? Brother Wei, it's like this. Our young master Shui wants to ask you for a favor, to let someone suffer a little. Where are you now? If it's convenient, we'll go over and talk to you. Ma Xiaochang asked. The background was a little noisy. Oh, I'm watching a performance in the auditorium, you guys come over and look for me. I'm in section B, row 6. Du Rongwei agreed, but he was a little puzzled. Shuigao had some ability in school and they usually minded their own business. Why did he suddenly want to ask for help? Since he couldn't think of a reason, Du Rongwei was too lazy to think about it. After hanging up the phone, he sent a message to his underling, asking him to check which dormitory Ling Qinyu was staying at and what her phone number was. Not long after, Ma Xiaochang led Shuigao from the backstage to the auditorium. Due to the strong lights on the stage, it caused the audience to look dark. The two of them searched for a long time, bumping into and stepping on countless people in the audience, causing a lot of complaints. Finally, they arrived in front of Du Rongwei and the rest. Yo Rongwei, I heard that you've been doing well recently? You've even become the leader of the student market. Looks like I'll need your help in the future. Ma Xiaochang first went forward to greet them, and when Du Rongwei and the rest looked over, Ma Xiaochang walked over with a smile and greeted them. Although Shuigao had always been disdainful of Du Rongwei, who only knew how to fight and kill, since he had a favor to ask, he still had to be polite. This little bit of face was a piece of cake for him. Young Master Shui overpraises me, I just found a good boss. Du Rongwei chuckled, satisfied with Shuigao's flattery. He then pointed to Red Hair beside him and said, This is my boss, Brother Red Hair. I'm working with him now. If you have anything to ask, just say it. As long as the price is reasonable, everything can be discussed. Red Hair nodded slightly at Shuigao as a form of greeting. Seeing Red Hair's cold and arrogant expression, Shuigao did not mind and explained simply, It's like this, I just want to ask for your help to teach someone a lesson. His name is Xiao Yi. Turning around, Shuigao pointed to Xiao Qin, who was moving bricks onto the stage. He gritted his teeth and said, Look, it's that brat. As long as you can beat him until he's crippled, no matter how much money I'll pay. Du Rongwei followed Shuigao's finger and looked towards the stage. In the end, he saw Xiao Qin and Wang Jingtian busy on the stage. It turned out that the previous performance had already ended, and the two of them were preparing the props for the next performance. Seeing Wang Jingtian, Du Rongwei was shocked. He did not expect that the person Shuigao wanted to deal with was actually from the martial arts club. He immediately panicked. Although this guy called Xiao Yi by Shuigao looked like a weakling, he had the backing of the martial arts club. If he taught him a lesson, wouldn't it be the same as offending the martial arts club? Thinking up to this point, Du Rongwei looked at Red Hair anxiously, wanting to see if he had any instructions. Chapter 937. Red Hair also saw the martial arts club logo on the stage, and his face changed slightly. He pinched his chin and thought for a while. Suddenly he revealed a sneaky smile and said, Sure, isn't it just beating that kid up? No problem, leave it to me. But this As he spoke, Red Hair twirled his fingers, obviously asking Shui Gao how much he was willing to pay. Ah, no problem. Money isn't a problem. As long as you can cripple that kid, all of this is yours. Shui Gao laughed, took out a thick stack of cash and waved it in front of Red Hair. Shui Gao flirted with girls all year round. To him, using money to make a girl happy was as easy as eating and drinking. Therefore he always had enough cash on him, and now was the time to use it. That's good, we'll help you settle it. We'll definitely beat him up until even his mother can't recognize him. Red Hair saw the thick stack of cash in Shui Gao's hand, and his eyes lit up. He immediately became spirited and agreed without thinking. Okay, then let's do it now. Don't worry, other than this, I'll also thank you after this is done. Shui Gao saw that everything was settled and said eagerly, "Ga, do it now." Red Hair was stunned. He looked at Shui Gao as if he was an alien and said, "This is an art festival. How can I do it in front of everyone? Do you want me to be kicked out by the security guards? Of course, I'll wait until after the gala is over and then find a chance to beat him up." Aren't you talking nonsense? If it wasn't for the fact that I want to do it now, would I spend so much money to find you? If I wait until after the gala is over, I can beat him up in minutes. Shui Gao rolled his eyes and said impatiently. He thought that Red Hair would be able to settle this matter immediately, but he turned out to be a coward. Okay, let me think about it first. Give me some time and wait for my news. Red Hair frowned and said awkwardly. Don't look at how arrogant he was normally. That was only under normal circumstances. Now that there were so many students and teachers present, he couldn't possibly rush up to the stage, grab Xiao Yi and beat him up in front of everyone, right? If he accidentally angered the crowd, not to mention the security guards dragging him out, everyone present would probably give him a punch and beat him to death. At that time, even if he had money, he wouldn't be able to spend it. Alright. Time waits for no man. Shui Gao had no other choice. Although he was quite anxious, he could only wait for the red-haired man to make his move. Seeing that Redhead was deep in thought, Shui Gao brought Ma Xiaochang and took a few steps away, standing at a place with a good view. If they raised their heads, they would be able to see the stage, and if they turned their heads, they would be able to see Redhead and Du Rongwei. Furthermore, from the way they were standing, no one would be able to tell that they were a group. This way, if they really got into a fight, it would have nothing to do with him. Big brother Red Hair, that kid is a member of the martial arts club. If you provoke them. Du Rongwei hurriedly moved closer to Red Fur's side when he saw that Shui Gao had walked far away, and he asked in a low voice. However, he hadn't finished speaking when he was interrupted by Red Fur. Idiot! Red Hair scolded Du Rongwei. His eyes flashed with a treacherous light as he said, "Did you forget what I just said? We have a backer now. Those two are super experts in the martial arts world. When the time comes, no matter who from the martial arts club dares to cause trouble for us, we will go and tell those two that we almost found that girl, but in the end, it was ruined by the martial arts club. What do you think will happen to them?" "Waha, big brother, you are so quick-witted. Then we won't have to worry about the martial arts club waiting for an opportunity to take revenge." Du Rongwei came to a sudden realization. He gave a thumbs up and smiled slyly as he flattered Red Hair. "That's right." Just as Red Hair said complacently, his face fell again and he said impatiently, "Don't be like a duck. Hurry up and think of a way to kill this kid so that we can get the money from Master Shui. This isn't easy either. With so many people watching, if we fight, we definitely won't be able to gain any advantage." Du Rongwei muttered with a face full of distress. Dang 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 dang. At this time, a burst of exciting music suddenly sounded from the speakers around the auditorium. It turned out that Xiao Qin and the others on the stage were all set up, so the program was ready to officially begin. Looking at the scattered bricks, boulders and hammers on the stage, the audience was a little puzzled. What are they going to do? They saw that the host who fell earlier had already changed into a tuxedo. He walked up to the stage with a beaming face, cleared his throat and said, "The next program will be presented by the students from the Ancient Martial Arts Department. At the same time, they are also members of the school's martial arts club." Hearing that it was a program from the Ancient Martial Arts Department, the audience below the stage was listless, and the applause was sparse. Everyone was whispering to each other, and none of them had any interest in the following performance. After all, most people came to the evening party with a clear purpose, which was to see the performance of the two campus bells. Who would want to see a few men on the stage putting on some fancy moves and sweating profusely? The host deliberately paused for a moment. When there was obviously an awkward silence, he raised his voice and reported the second half of the program. These students will perform barehanded splitting of bricks, crushing of boulders with their chests, as well as golden bell shield and iron shirt. Students, please prepare your mobile phones and cameras to witness this incredible scene. Ow ow ow. The people who originally planned to be absent-minded and go to the toilet were stunned for a moment. Then they immediately reacted and shouted excitedly. The atmosphere of the scene was stirred up in an instant. In previous art festivals, the sophomores and juniors had also seen the performances of the ancient martial arts department, but they were all performing a few sets of boxing techniques on the stage. It looked like they were doing broadcast gymnastics, and they were accompanied by some songs such as The Legend of the Condor Heroes and Huang Fei Hong. Although it looked like it was full of vigor and was quite awesome, it was boring after watching too much. After all, they didn't understand the intricacies behind it. And these street moves that were performed this time might be nothing in the eyes of some martial artists, but these university students who only knew how to bury their heads in their studies had rarely seen it, so they immediately went crazy. The first to go on stage were Wang Jingtian and Xiao Chen. The other members of the ancient martial arts department stood on the side and waited. Because Xing Chik, Ling Qianxue, and Cheng Minjing weren't arranged to perform on stage, the three of them hid behind the stage and waited. Occasionally they could help carry a few bricks or something. Xiao Chen saw that everyone's attention was almost attracted, so he picked up 3 green bricks from the stage and showed them in front of everyone. He even called a few students sitting in the front row to go on stage and let them verify that they were using real bricks and not fake foam boards. Chapter 938. Xiao Chen only placed the brick in front of Wang Jingtian after the warm-up had ended. He then helped him hold the brick by the side. Ha! Wang Jingtian didn't waste any words and cupped his hands towards the audience. He then roared, sounding very imposing. Then with a schwa sound he slammed his palm against the bricks. With a kacha sound, the 3 bricks were split apart and fell to the ground. Good, well done. Good job. That's awesome. Wow. This guy is really strong and he's also quite handsome. I wonder if he has a girlfriend or not. TSK, why would he like you? I'm sure he likes girls like me. Wang Jingtian was a little handsome and he always had a cool look. Therefore he could attract the attention of girls. Therefore when the boys in the audience kept clapping and cheering, many girls were staring at Wang Jingtian with stars in their eyes. They all looked like they were infatuated with him. Thank you for your applause. Do you want to see Vice President Wang of our Wushu Club add bricks? Dong Zhiqi picked up the microphone and said loudly. Today he brought the members of the Wushu Club to help. He wanted to promote the club and make it famous. Yes, very much. The students below the stage shouted one after another. They were all very excited. How many bricks do you want? Dong Zhiqi asked. 5 bricks. 5 bricks. The students shouted excitedly. Good. No problem. Everyone watch carefully. Dong Zhiqi put the microphone back. Then he moved 5 bricks in front of Wang Jingtian and asked Xiao Chen to hold them. Wang Jingtian swept his gaze around, and then without saying a word, he roared angrily and smashed all the bricks into pieces. In order to increase the effect of the program, he purposely made himself look like he was sweating and the veins on his face were bulging. Wow. At 10 bricks. At 10 bricks. Seeing Wang Jingtian putting in so much effort, the students below the stage went into a frenzy. Everyone was cheering, and the popularity of the live audience was no less than Ling Qinyu's performance. The host, who was the closest to them, also felt his blood boiling as he watched. He applauded again and again, holding the microphone and saying passionately, I can see that the students of the martial arts club are really talented. This kind of ability, who could do it? Let me ask all the students here, which one of you can do this? I can. Shuigao suddenly pinched his throat and inexplicably appeared behind Redhead and shouted. The surrounding students all quieted down and looked in the direction of Shuigao and Redhead, but Shuigao had already hidden behind them. Du Rongwei and Red Hair were stunned, and the 3 of them quickly slipped away with the young ninja. Red Hair frowned and whispered, What are you doing? Why do you want to stand out? Are you guys stupid? Of course I have an ulterior motive. Shuigao looked in front of him and explained in a low voice, Those idiots from the martial arts club, didn't they want to challenge someone? You guys can use this as an excuse to cause trouble and teach that kid a lesson. Isn't that killing 2 birds with 1 stone? It turned out that Shuigao was afraid that he wouldn't be able to find a chance to teach Xiao Chen a lesson. If Redhead still couldn't think of a way, how could he teach Xiao Chen a lesson when Su Chushao's performance was over? Coincidentally, the host was talking big in the heat of the moment. Shuigao suddenly had an idea, and he suddenly thought of a way to let Redhead and the others go on stage openly. He took the opportunity and shouted it out. Moreover, since there were people below the stage who accepted the challenge, if the martial arts club didn't dare to let them go on stage, it would damage their reputation. Therefore, even if the host didn't want the audience to go on stage, they couldn't agree to it. This. As expected, the host was dumbfounded by Shuigao's roar. He just wanted to liven up the atmosphere, who knew that someone would really answer. Helplessly, he turned to look at Dong Zhiqi and Wang Jingtian, wanting to seek their opinion. Before Dong Zhiqi could react, Wang Jingtian smiled faintly, took the microphone and said with a relaxed expression, "Sure. Since there are students who are willing to go on stage to learn from each other, I can accept it. However, the duration of the performance might be extended. I'm not sure if the audience has any objections?" No objections. The longer the performance, the better. The audience below the stage shouted in unison, and there were many girls' voices mixed in. This performance was so good, who would have any objections? Everyone was eagerly looking forward to performing more so that they could broaden their horizons. The girls even hoped that Wang Jingtian could stay on stage for a longer period of time. Since both sides have no objections, then let's invite the student who fought bravely just now to come on stage and compete with the students from the martial arts club. The host was also very excited. He shouted and pointed in the direction of Shuigao and the others. Instantly, a spotlight shone towards where they were standing. "Hurry up and go. No matter what happens on stage, I will bear the consequences. Once it's done, the remuneration will naturally not be lacking." Shuigao seized the time and whispered to the red-haired guy. In any case, when the audience went on stage to participate in the performance, they were basically uncontrollable. It was inevitable that some accidents would happen, and the school couldn't do anything about it. Even if they wanted to investigate later, they wouldn't be able to trace it back to him. Since Shuigao said so, the red-haired guy and the young ninja were no longer worried. The two of them strode towards the direction of the stage. Seeing the two people on stage, Wang Jingtian couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Why is it these people again? It seems like they came with ill intentions this time. However, Wang Jingtian wasn't afraid. Although he wasn't as strong as the young ninja, splitting bricks was his forte. Therefore, no matter who challenged this program, he was very confident. Seeing the red-haired man and the young ninja walk to the front of the stage, the host was also stunned. The appearance and attire of these two people were a bit strange. One of them had dyed his hair red and looked like a street thug. The other one was wearing a ninja attire and looked a bit old-fashioned. He didn't look like a university student. "Excuse me, are you students from Lon University? Why is your hair dyed and your dressing seems to be a bit special? Also, this person's appearance seems to be..." There were whispers and discussions below the stage. The host couldn't hold back his curiosity and asked. Although Lon University didn't explicitly prohibit students from dyeing their hair and had a uniform dress code, the students were usually quite self-aware. Even if someone wanted to dye their hair, they would only dye a few strands of hair. They definitely wouldn't dye all of their hair red and make it so shocking. Chapter 939. "Oh, we're both from the arts department. I'm from the beauty and hairdressing department, so I used my own hair as an experiment. He's from the fashion design department, but he looks a little too young. He's actually younger than me." The red-haired guy spouted nonsense with a straight face. He had already thought of these words before he went on stage, so he wasn't stumped by the questions. The host was a little puzzled. Does our school have a beauty and hairdressing department? Are these two sure they're not from some excavator school? However, the party had limited time, so the host naturally wouldn't pursue this matter. He nodded and asked, "So that's how it is. Then these two students, what do you want to compete in?" "Of course we want to compete in splitting bricks. Are there any other choices?" The red-haired guy glared at the host. Why is this guy spouting nonsense? The host smiled embarrassedly. He was a little confused just now, so he quickly said, "Okay. Then how many bricks do you want to challenge?" "Let's compete with 15. Everyone just shouted 10. "Since we're going on stage to challenge, we should at least add more," the red-haired guy said lightly. The red-haired guy knew the young ninja's strength. Let alone 15 bricks, even if it was 30, he could easily split them. "Wow, isn't this challenger a little too awesome? I didn't come for nothing today. Yeah, I've been in Lon University for 4 years, but I've never seen such an exciting show. Martial arts club members, hurry up and accept it. I can't wait. 15 bricks. Even a street performer couldn't do this. These two challengers were either boasting or they really had the strength to do it. The audience below the stage was boiling. The martial arts club's performance was simply the best show of the night apart from Ling Qinyu's ballroom dance. The girls sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Wang Jingtian worriedly with their hands on their chests. Those two wretched guys challenged their male idol right off the bat. They didn't know if their male idol would accept the challenge. Since the challengers have announced the challenge, can the martial arts club accept it? When the host heard the number of bricks had increased to 15, his voice trembled a little. He quickly turned his head and asked Wang Jingtian excitedly. Wang Jingtian pondered for a moment, then nodded and agreed. No problem, 15 it is. Since both parties had confirmed the quantity and were ready, Xiaoqin turned around and carried 30 bricks from the side of the stage. He took out 15 bricks and placed them in front of Wang Jingtian. Then he stood at the side and helped him hold the bricks to stabilize their balance. Wang Jingtian got into a horse stance, took a deep breath, and used all the strength in his body to fiercely slap down. Ka sounds could be heard and all the bricks instantly cracked open. The first 14 bricks were split in half and scattered on the ground, but the last brick was not split in half. It only cracked in the middle, but it still completed the challenge. Ayo. The audience, who had been holding their breaths with rapt attention, suddenly screamed, clapped and cheered incessantly. After letting out a sigh of relief, Wang Jingtian wiped the sweat off his forehead. He gestured to the red-haired man and the young ninja and said coldly, "I'm done. Now it's your turn." "Wait. We need to discuss the tactics." The red-haired man saw the young ninja winking at him, so he waved his hand and gestured to pause. Then he pulled the young ninja to the side and whispered to each other. Wang Jingtian and Dong Zhiqi were stunned. They looked at each other and were a little puzzled. Isn't it just splitting bricks? What tactics is there to discuss? Do they want to take the opportunity to slip away? But they stopped and whispered to each other when they walked to the side, and it didn't look like they were going to run away. The audience was a little surprised. These two non-mainstream people volunteered to challenge the Wushu Club. Now that the Wushu Club had accepted the challenge, why did they become timid? The audience who didn't know the truth immediately booed. At this time, the young ninja didn't care about the booing from the audience. He pulled the red-haired man and whispered, "I really didn't know that this guy is really capable. I thought he couldn't handle it." The young ninja looked at Wang Jingtian. He thought that with this guy's cultivation he shouldn't be able to split 15 bricks. This was enough to make the Wushu Club lose face. He didn't expect him to actually succeed. Who cares? We don't need to rely on the karate dojo to make money. There is no conflict with the Wushu Club. Now we just need to find a way to cripple that guy called Xiao Yi, and the mission will be considered completed. The red-haired man whispered. "Oh, so it's like this. I understand. But what I'm going to perform is splitting bricks. How can it be related to Xiao Yi? Should I just say that it's wrong and directly slap his head? Isn't this too fake?" The young ninja couldn't help but ask. It wasn't a problem for him to use his strength, but when it came to using his brain, he was at his wit's end. "You're really stupid. If I wasn't weaker than you, I wouldn't be your boss." The red-haired man scolded angrily. Seeing that the young ninja was still confused, he pointed out with a face of disdain, "Can't you control your strength when you split? Let the brick fly up and hit Xiao Yi's head with a bang? This way we can say that it was an accident. It has nothing to do with us. At worst we can just pay some medical fees. Anyway, that idiot will pay for it. What are you afraid of?" "That's right. This is a good idea. Smart. Really smart." The young ninja suddenly realized and couldn't help but give a thumbs up in admiration. The two of them weren't afraid of being heard by the people from the Wushu Club. The whole stage was very empty. They were originally standing on the side and deliberately lowered their voices. If they didn't use a microphone, they wouldn't be able to hear anything from a distance. But they didn't know that Xiao Chen was a real cultivator. Even if he didn't release his divine sense, he could clearly hear their conversation. Xiao Chen sneered in his heart. "I was wondering why these two non-mainstream idiots suddenly appeared on the stage to challenge me. It turned out that they were here for me. But what enmity do these two have with me? Is there something wrong with them?" Xiao Chen couldn't help but be puzzled. With his current identity as Xiao Yi, it could be said that he had no contact with these two people. The last time they came to challenge the Wushu Club, he wasn't there. He didn't have a direct confrontation with them, so they shouldn't know him at all. If it was with Xiao Chen's identity, then even if the red-haired man was beaten to death, he wouldn't dare to provoke him. Otherwise, even if he wanted to die, he wouldn't be able to. If it was with his identity as the Wushu Club challenger, then needless to say, the red-haired man would definitely be scared to the point of peeing his pants and running away. How could he take the initiative to look for trouble? This was really strange. Chapter 940. Xing and Ling Qianxue, who were standing behind the curtain, looked at each other in confusion when they saw the red-haired guy bringing the young ninja onto the stage. Why did they meet these two again? What were they doing here? When Cheng Minjing saw the red-haired guy, she subconsciously hid. After hiding, she remembered that she wasn't wearing a disguise. Even if the other party saw her, he wouldn't be able to recognize her. Only then did she relax. I say, you two have been muttering for a long time. Do you not want to compete anymore? If you don't compete, then it means you admit defeat? Xiaoqun smiled coldly. He didn't want to give them any more time to think about how to deal with him and directly asked. Since he already knew their goal and plan, he naturally wouldn't let them succeed so easily. Xiaoqun thought quickly and already thought of a countermeasure. What kind of joke is this? We just wanted to warm up. Now that we're done warming up, we can start. Move the bricks over. The young ninja was confident. He waved his arms and did a few chest expansion movements. Then he swaggered over. The red-haired guy also walked to the front of the stage and waited to the side, ready to watch a good show. Oh, then wait a moment. Dong Zhiqi was the closest to the remaining bricks. Just as he was about to obediently move the bricks, he was stopped by Xiaoqun. I'll do it. This was originally my job, don't steal it from me. Xiaoqun rushed to move the 15 bricks on the ground and placed them in front of the young ninja. After placing them, Xiaoqun prepared to retreat to the side. The young ninja was stunned. If this guy retreated far away, how would he be able to hit them? He hurriedly looked at the red-haired guy as if asking for help. The red-haired guy understood and immediately jumped up. Hey, you bastard, you're not allowed to leave. Go over and help him hold the bricks. What if it falls? Really, you don't have any eyesight at all. How come you don't know how to unite and be friendly? The red-haired guy righteously stared at Xiaoqun and scolded. Oh, okay. Xiaoqun shrugged and didn't refuse. He walked back slowly, squatted down and put his hand on the brick. The audience waited for a long time without knowing the truth. Finally, when they saw that the young ninja was ready to start the challenge, they immediately shouted and cheered for him. However, there were also a few girls who were secretly cursing him for failing the challenge. Don't steal the limelight from your idol. Drink. Seeing that the time had come, the young ninja shouted without hesitation. Then he circulated his mental cultivation method and struck the brick with his palm. Crack. Those bricks were smashed into pieces in the blink of an eye. However, the following scene made everyone's jaws drop. Bang, bang. Only two muffled sounds could be heard. The broken bricks and tiles didn't smash into Xiaoqun's head as the young ninja expected. Instead, two of the broken bricks suddenly flew up. One of them smashed into the young ninja's head, while the other flew in a strange arc and heavily smashed into the red-haired ninja's thigh. Ah! Caught off guard, the young ninja couldn't block it at all. With a scream, his head was directly split open by the broken brick. Blood spurted out like a fountain, and the hair in front of his forehead was dyed blood red. Ouch! On the other side, the red-haired ninja howled. He clutched his crotch in pain and knelt on the ground. He couldn't understand why the broken bricks would hit him. He was clearly very far away. Xiaoqun stood up and glanced at the red-haired ninja who was kneeling on the ground. He was a little puzzled. The young ninja's injury was within his expectations, but the red-haired ninja was inexplicably injured. It was a little strange. Why did the broken bricks fly so far? However, when Xiaoqun turned his gaze and saw Cheng Minjing hiding behind the curtain, she was covering her mouth and laughing secretly. He immediately understood what was going on. Only Cheng Minjing could control the bricks remotely like him. It seemed like she was the one who hit the red-haired ninja. No wonder the arc looked so strange. Aya, why did you dye your hair? Do you want to be a red-haired ninja too? Or do you want to study beauty and hairdressing? Are you stupid? Can't you just sign up for an elective class? In order to not let Cheng Minjing be noticed, Xiaoqun immediately looked at the young ninja with a surprised expression and grabbed the host's microphone. Ah, these two people are so funny. They obviously have such poor skills, but they still dare to challenge them. They are simply overestimating themselves. That red-haired ninja is so pitiful. He really got shot while lying down. He was standing so far away, but he still got hurt accidentally. I'm dying of laughter. I don't know if it will affect some of his functions in the future. Ah. When the audience heard Xiaoqun's ridicule, they suddenly burst into laughter. Everyone was pointing at them and the girls were overjoyed. They all agreed that the curse was effective. The other members of the martial arts club on the stage looked at each other. They didn't understand what happened at all. The situation looked like an accident, but there was a hint of strangeness in it. However, they were too lazy to ask. Anyway, these two people didn't get along with them. They could only say one sentence: God will punish those who are despicable. The host couldn't sit back and do nothing. He quickly went up to the young ninja and asked him if he was okay and if he needed to go to the infirmary. The young ninja covered his head and grimaced for a while. He finally recovered. He was also a martial artist, so this injury was nothing. Although he was a little depressed, he still waved his hand and said, "It's okay. It's just a small matter. This time it's a draw. I've smashed all the bricks. Hiss, I'm fine." The red-haired ninja stood up with difficulty in a twisted posture. He took a deep breath and then glared at the young ninja. He was really speechless at the young ninja. What kind of technique is this? Not to mention that Xiaoyi didn't hit him, he even broke his head and accidentally injured me, who was standing far away. He even attracted the laughter of the audience. It was really embarrassing. Oh, then do you still want to compete? Xiaoqin could not be bothered to be nice to them, so he asked coldly. Looking at the unconvinced looks on the faces of these two fellows, with their eyes rolling around, he guessed that they were up to no good again. Wait, we'll take a break first. You guys continue your performance. The red-haired ninja could see that this move obviously couldn't win. He could only wait for the opportunity to make a move. However, he didn't want to leave the stage with his tail between his legs, so he simply stayed on the stage and said so. Oh, we have a more exciting segment later. If you want a challenge, you can continue. We welcome you at any time. Xiaoqin said indifferently and ignored them. He turned around and went to prepare the props with the members of the martial arts club. Chapter 941. Next, the students from the ancient martial arts department will show everyone how to break rocks on their chests. Everyone, please don't be stingy with your applause and give them your warmest encouragement. The host saw that the situation was a little awkward, so he quickly took the microphone and began to loudly stir up the emotions of the audience. Ow ow ow. Xiaoqin and the others didn't use the microphone to talk, so the audience could only see their mouths moving, but couldn't hear what they were saying. Just when they were anxious and thought that something had happened to the program, they suddenly heard the host's announcement again. Everyone suddenly felt as if they were injected with chicken blood. They shouted loudly and applauded enthusiastically, once again pushing the program to its climax. Breaking rocks on their chest. It was even more exciting than breaking bricks, so it would definitely be better to watch. Xiaoqin and Dong Zhiqi moved a table out and placed it in the middle of the stage. Then Jianghu walked to the front of the stage, cupped his hands at the audience and tore off his clothes, revealing his strong 8-pack abs and perfect mermaid lines. It immediately attracted the screams of many girls in the audience. Wow. This guy with glasses looks like a loser, but his body is really good. Look at these abs. These mermaid lines. Wow, there's even a groin. I can't take it anymore, I'm going to have a nosebleed. Glasses bro, I want to give birth to your child. The host naturally wouldn't let go of this great opportunity to stir up the atmosphere. He immediately took the microphone and asked Jianghu, "Classmate, did you hear the cheers of the girls in the audience? Everyone likes you very much. Do you have anything to say to them?" Thank you for everyone's encouragement. Listening to all kinds of shouts from the love-struck girls in the audience, Jianghu awkwardly pushed up his glasses, casually replied, and without saying anything else, he laid flat on the table. He had never encountered this kind of situation before, so he didn't know what to say for a moment. However, this simple sentence made the girls in the audience scream and infatuated for a long time. At this time, the giant rock had been lifted up. The host once again stirred up the emotions at the right time. He pointed at Xiaoqin and the others who were carrying the rock and shouted, "Everyone, this giant rock weighs 150 pounds. In a moment, it will be on top of the skinny bespectacled man, and then his assistant will smash it with a hammer." In order to highlight the effect of the show, Xiaoqin, Wang Jingtian, and Dong Zhiqi laboriously lifted the boulder and approached Jianghu step by step. Then they slowly placed the boulder on his body. Then, the three of them pretended to heave a sigh of relief. However, the crowd below the stage gasped in shock. Seeing Xiaoqin turn around to get the hammer, the host was so excited that he jumped up and down. His voice almost changed. "Everyone please watch. Next, it's time to witness a miracle." Picking up the hammer on the ground, Xiaoqin walked in front of Jianghu. He first looked around the audience, then slowly raised the hammer above his head, holding it high above the boulder. However, he did not immediately smash it down. Instead, he deliberately paused, wanting to create a tense atmosphere. It's too scary. It won't kill that bespectacled guy, right? I don't even dare to watch. It's so scary. Sure enough, many of the timid girls below the stage covered their eyes. Although they didn't want to look on the surface, they couldn't help but peek at the situation on the stage through the gaps between their fingers. They felt their hearts thumping and their hearts thumping. Feeling that the audience had already held their breath, staring at Jianghu. All their attention was focused on the stage. Xiaoqin took advantage of the situation and shouted. He swung his arm and smashed it down heavily. Bang! After a muffled sound, the boulder was instantly smashed into pieces and scattered on the ground. Jianghu shook off the remaining debris on his body and stood up unscathed. He smiled and cupped his hands at the audience below the stage. What the F***ck? So awesome. He's still fine even after smashing it so hard. I was scared to death just now. I thought the bespectacled guy was going to be smashed flat. I didn't expect him to be fine. The martial arts club is too amazing. Each of them is so brave. I really want to join them. The audience below the stage seemed to have just recovered from their shock. After a short moment of daze, they suddenly burst into enthusiastic cheers and applause. Many people even wanted to rush up to the stage to see if Jianghu was all right. Fortunately, they were stopped by the security guards at the scene. Everyone, don't be too excited. You've all seen how amazing the members of the martial arts club are, right? If you're interested in joining us, you're welcome. The doors of the martial arts club will always be open for you. Dong Zhiqi was overjoyed. He grabbed the microphone from the host's hand and took the opportunity to promote the martial arts club. Tiske, what's so great about it? It's just a street performance. Red Hair had already thought of a new idea. He immediately stood up and said disdainfully, since you've made your martial arts club sound so good, why don't we compete again? How does this student want to compete? Do you also want to perform smashing boulders on your chest? The host had learned his lesson this time and quickly asked. Red Hair rolled his eyes, shook his head and said, we're not interested in performing these kinds of tricks to earn money. Then what do you want to perform? The host was a little confused. Weren't you two the ones who went up on the stage to challenge smashing bricks? Why are you suddenly not interested now? Red Hair snorted. He took the host's microphone and walked to the front of the stage. He raised his chin and said to Dong Zhiqi in disdain, didn't you just say that your martial arts club is very powerful? Now I want to challenge other people in your club. Do you dare to come? Challenge other people? Dong Zhiqi was stunned. He didn't know what trick this red hair man was going to play, so he asked cautiously. That's right. Don't tell me you found two people to perform and the others can't do it? Red Hair pointed at Jianghu and Wang Jingtian in disdain and said, it seems like the two of them are more powerful, and the others are useless trash? Then you're cheating the feelings of all the students. Shuigao almost laughed out loud. This redhead was really quick to blend in with the environment, treating himself like a university student. However, at this moment he already understood Redhead's new plan. The gloominess he felt earlier was completely swept away, and he was inwardly delighted. Dong Zhiqi was a little hesitant. He felt that he couldn't back down now. Red Hair was right. Although Jianghu and Wang Jingtian were members of the martial arts club and couldn't be considered as actors, only the two of them could perform. If he had to choose from the remaining people, only he could barely do it. Chapter 942. Thinking of this, Dong Zhiqi said in a deep voice, if that's the case, then I'll compete with you. You choose the method of competition. Are you kidding me? You're too insincere. You're the president, so you're definitely stronger than them. Aren't you bullying us? The red-haired guy sneered and directly rejected Dong Zhiqi's proposal. This won't do, that won't do. Then what do you want? Dong Zhiqi asked angrily. The red-haired guy pointed at Xiaoqin and said with a smirk, how about this guy is also from the martial arts club. We'll compete with him. Although he knew Dong Zhiqi's strength wasn't much, the red-haired guy's purpose on stage was to deal with Xiao Yi. Otherwise he wouldn't be wasting time on stage. It wasn't like he was really here to perform. Dong Zhiqi was stunned. His expression was a little awkward as he subconsciously looked at Xiaoqin. Okay, what do you want to compete with? I'll accompany you anytime. To Dong Zhiqi's surprise, Xiaoqin did not reject him immediately. Instead, he smiled faintly and agreed readily. You can lie on the table and perform breaking rocks with your chest. However, you have to let him do it. Do you dare? The red-haired guy pointed at the young ninja. He was also a little surprised. He thought he would have to waste a lot of words, but he didn't expect Xiao Yi to agree immediately. This guy was quite easy to fool. Xiao Qin secretly laughed. Was the red-haired guy trying to kill him? However, he didn't care and said lightly, "Oh, okay, then come. Xiao Yi, this is too dangerous. Let me do it?" Dong Zhiqi was shocked and quickly stopped him. Dong Zhiqi was very surprised. What's wrong with this Xiao Yi? Usually he had to find someone to help him move the bricks, but now he actually agreed so easily. This red-haired guy was clearly goading him. Why did he fall for it? TSK, did I really hit the nail on the head? Looks like your martial arts club is just a facade. You actually found two people to act as a substitute and put on a fake show for the audience. It's simply too disappointing. Red Hair held the microphone and mocked with a smirk on his face. When the audience heard Red Fur's words, some of them began to whisper and cast doubtful glances at Dong Zhiqi. President Dong, don't worry. I'll be fine. Xiao Qin patted Dong Zhiqi's shoulder and gave him a reassuring look. Then he laid down on the table and lightly said, I'm ready. You guys carry the stone up. Sigh. Dong Zhiqi sighed. He knew that if he continued to persuade them, the situation would become even more troublesome and suspicious. Since Xiao Yi insisted, he didn't stop him and took Jia Muzhen to move the stones. When the audience saw that Xiao Chen was really lying down and preparing to be smashed, they became spirited again. They all concentrated and wanted to know if the martial arts club was a facade or not. When the stone was firmly placed on Xiao Chen's body, the young ninja was afraid that Xiao Chen would go back on his words. He impatiently picked up the hammer and raised it to the highest point. Then he sneered and said, Hee hee, student, I'm going to smash it. Close your eyes and enjoy it. After saying that, the young ninja used all his strength and fiercely smashed down with the hammer. Bang, bang, bang. 3 muffled sounds could be heard. The first was the young ninja smashing the huge stone into pieces. The second was him being smashed on the head by a large piece of flying gravel. The third was the young ninja being knocked out by the gravel and falling straight onto the stage. Then there was silence. The martial arts club members and the audience were all dumbfounded. Even the host was stunned with his mouth wide open. What was going on? The red-haired guy also couldn't come back to his senses for a long time. Just now he was smashed by the brick. Why was he smashed again? Could it be that there was a grudge between the stone and the young ninja? Ah! After a moment of sluggishness, the audience suddenly burst into laughter. They didn't expect the martial arts club's performance to be so humorous. The guy in the ninja suit was like a clown. A few people couldn't stop slapping their thighs and laughed so hard that they couldn't straighten their backs. Xiao Qin stood up and patted the dust off his body. He looked at the dumbfounded red-haired guy and said with a smile, Oh, I know. Actually, you guys also support the martial arts club in your heart. That's why you specifically came to cooperate with our performance, right? What do you mean? The red-haired guy didn't react and was at a loss. Our performance is actually a bit serious and not that funny. So, you and that clown came up together to challenge us and deliberately performed a self-mutilation performance to make the audience laugh. Is that what you mean? Xiao Qin held his stomach and laughed exaggeratedly. Ha! I have to say that you guys achieved the effect. I'm dying of laughter. I think you guys can win the Best Clown Award tonight. The audience below the stage, who had already stopped laughing, were immediately amused when they heard Xiao Chen's words. They continuously applauded and booed at Redhead, and there were even people who whistled at him. The red-haired guy was speechless. He opened his mouth but couldn't say anything. Listening to the ear-piercing laughter below the stage, he was so angry that his brain was about to spurt out. He could only pretend that he didn't hear what Xiao Chen said. He quickly rushed to the young ninja and kicked him a few times, trying to wake him up. Stop kicking. If he accidentally kicks him until he becomes retarded again, you'll have to feed him for the rest of his life. Xiao Chen picked up the broken bricks and said leisurely, How about it? Do you still want to compete? Our martial arts club will accompany you to the end. I don't want to compete anymore. The red-haired guy snorted coldly and dragged the young ninja backstage with an exasperated expression. The martial arts club is great. All of them are great. The audience cheered in unison and applauded endlessly. The eyes of the love-struck girls lit up and they covered their chests. They were almost fainted by the handsome guys on the stage. However, one of them fiercely stared at Xiao Qin. His chest was heaving up and down. It seemed that he was extremely angry. Surname Du. This is the masterpiece of your master? This is the extremely powerful person you were talking about? What the hell is this performance? It's simply shameful. Shui Gao was furious as he pointed at Du Rongwei's nose and cursed. He was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. This time, not only did he fail to teach Xiaoyi a lesson, but he also allowed him to be in the limelight. Those who didn't know the truth would really think that the red-haired guy went up to be a clown and serve as a foil to the martial arts club. Du Rongwei was also dumbfounded. He tried his best to explain, "Young Master Shui, I think they might be deliberately numbing that brat Xiaoyi and waiting for him to get off the stage. After all, they can't directly make a move in front of everyone, right? That better be the case. Otherwise, don't even think about getting a single cent. You will have to pay your own medical fees." Shui Gao was still very angry. Chapter 943. Don't worry, young Master Shui. My master and big brother Red Hair are definitely ready and waiting for Xiaoyi to appear. Du Rongwei quickly comforted him. All right. Since you said so, I'll wait and see. Shui Gao frowned and said gloomily. Now that things had come to this, he could only wait. Just as Du Rongwei said, after Red Hair dragged the young ninja off the stage, he didn't go far. Instead, he went backstage and found an empty space to rest. Seeing that the young ninja was still unconscious, Red Hair slapped and pinched his face. After a long time, he still didn't wake up. Helpless, Red Hair could only get a bucket of water and directly pour it on the young ninja's face. Only then did he wake up. Fortunately, his injuries weren't too serious. After waking up, he simply used his martial arts to heal himself and was fine. However, when he thought of the humiliation he just made, his face still didn't look too good. The two of them discussed for a while and decided to wait here and not leave. When the martial arts department's performance ended and Xiao Chen went backstage to act alone, they would make a sneak attack and ruthlessly beat him up. The martial arts club's performance was still going on. The next program was relatively dull. It was Dong Zhiqi's performance of the Golden Bell Iron Shirt. Although it was also very entertaining, and the audience was specially invited to interact with it, it wasn't as passionate as before. It could only be considered as a good ending to the program. But overall, the martial arts club's performance was a great success. After the performance, many students came to Dong Zhiqi to sign up. They wanted to join the martial arts club. There were also many love-struck girls that surrounded Wang Jingtian and occasionally took advantage of him. As soon as the two of them got off the stage, they were extremely busy and dizzy. Xiao Qin and Jia Muzhen were responsible for cleaning up the stage. Both of them looked quite loser, and they were ordinary members of the martial arts club, so no one bothered them. Although Jia Muzhen showed his abs once and attracted a lot of girls, he was overshadowed by the handsome Wang Jingtian. After the two of them cleaned up, they each carried a pile of broken bricks and prepared to leave the stage. After taking 2 steps into the backstage area, Xiao Qin saw the red-haired guy and the young ninja sitting at the side, glaring at him fiercely. Xiao Qin secretly sneered. Suddenly, he slightly loosened his grip, only to see the broken brick in his hand fall straight to the ground, coincidentally smashing into the numb tendon of Jia Muzhen's leg. Although Jia Muzhen was a peak level 10 general, Xiao Qin was a cultivator, and his level was much higher than his. Smashing him was as easy as flipping his hand. Ouch. As Jia Muzhen walked, he suddenly felt his leg go numb. One of his legs seemed to be out of his control. His whole body involuntarily fell forward, and the broken bricks in his hand all flew out. Be careful. Ouch. Xiao Qin seemed to have jumped in fright. He tried to pull Jia Muzhen's arm, but he lost his balance and the broken bricks in his arms flew out like a fairy scattering flowers. Bang. 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 Ouch. The red-haired guy and the young ninja let out a blood-curdling screech at the same time. The broken bricks all hit their heads and bodies without missing a single one. They subconsciously wanted to block, but there were too many broken bricks. If they blocked from the top, they would be smashed from the bottom. If they blocked from the bottom, their heads would be split open. After a round of indiscriminate bombardment, the two of them were smashed until their heads were black and blue. It was a horrible sight. Are you okay? I'm sorry, my hand slipped and I couldn't support you. Seeing the two of them run away, Xiao Qin quickly helped Jia Muzhen up. I'm fine, but did we hit someone just now? Why did I hear someone scream? Jia Muzhen picked up his glasses and put them back on. When he raised his head, he saw a pile of broken bricks on the ground and no one else. He couldn't help but wonder if he was hallucinating. Oh, we hit those 2 idiots on stage, but they're gone now, Xiao Qin said casually as he squatted down to pick up the bricks. So it was them. Jianghu nodded and could not be bothered to ask any more questions. In any case, he did not have a good impression of those two, so he simply bent down to help Xiaoqin pick up the bricks. After cleaning up, Xiaoqin informed Jianghu and went to room 2 to find Su Chuxia. The martial arts club's performance was over, and Xiaoqin had nothing else to do. It was Su Chuxia's turn soon, so he had to hurry up and learn the song so he wouldn't embarrass himself on stage. Hey, counterattack man, why are you so late? I've been waiting for you for a long time. It's going to be Chuxia's turn soon, and you two haven't even matched the lyrics yet. Seeing Xiaoqin push open the door slowly and enter, Tian Soran immediately jumped up from his seat. Oh, didn't I rush over here as soon as my program ended? Xiaoqin smiled helplessly. This Tian Suruan was always in such a rush. Don't look for excuses, they're all excuses. Hurry up and memorize these lyrics. Sister Sour Sour strongly recommended you. If you go on stage later and scratch your head, Sister Sour Sour won't let you off. Tian Sour Sour ran over with large strides, grabbed him and handed him a copy of the lyrics. Oh, don't worry, I'm very good at remembering lyrics. I only need to read it once to memorize it. There's a dialect in it? Xiaoqin took the lyrics and realized that he and Su Chuxia were singing, "You Are a Song in My Heart." Xiaoqin seemed to have heard it before when he was shopping with the young mistress, but he didn't have much of an impression of it. He only vaguely remembered that a few of the lyrics were sung in a dialect. Tiske, Sister Soran wanted to quietly watch you act cool, but you didn't even last 5 seconds. The dialect of this song is a little troublesome, and it's not easy to learn. Hurry up and listen to it a few times to familiarize yourself with it. Tian Soran rolled his eyes in disdain. He opened the prepared song on his phone and played it for Xiaoqin. Oh, actually, I've learned a few words of this dialect before. I was just teasing you just now. Xiaoqin carefully listened to it once and completely memorized the beat and lyrics, so he teased her with a smile. Really? Then hurry up and say a few lines to Sister Soran. I want to see if you're accurate. Tian Soran squinted his eyes and stared at Xiaoqin suspiciously, as if he didn't believe him. Then listen carefully. Xiaoqin cleared his throat and recited unhurriedly, Tian So Sui is a cha-cha. That's it? That's it? Half of it is in Mandarin. What does it have to do with a dialect? You're obviously trying to fool Sister Soran. Tian Soran said with a frown after waiting for a long time. Chapter 944. Cha-cha means fierce bitch. How could it have nothing to do with the dialect? Xiaoqin laughed. Although Tian Souring was a little clever, she would still fall into his trap if she wasn't careful. Ew. How dare you say I'm a fierce bitch? Do you want to die? Tian Souring was furious. She raised her fist to teach Xiaoqin a lesson, but she saw Xiaoqin looking at her with a faint smile. It was as if he was saying, look, you hit me just because you don't agree with me. Isn't that a fierce bitch? Sister Souring is just a little fierce. You're the one who's too sissy. Tian Souring put down her fist awkwardly and glared at him angrily. She thought that she would find a chance to show him what a real fierce bitch was. You forced me to say it, and I was just giving an example of the dialect. It wasn't directed at what you said, so don't mind it too much. Xiaoqin waved his hand and looked around. He asked curiously, oh right, where did Chuxia go? She went to change her clothes. You just wait. Anyway, you can go on stage with your current clothes. There's no need to change. You should hurry up and learn this song. Tian Souring snorted and turned her head away. She knew that she couldn't blame Xiao Yi. She was the one who forced him to speak in the dialect. And he seemed to be right. Sometimes she was indeed fierce. Oh, I've learned it. Xiaoqin didn't start the song but said lightly. Don't act pretentious. You'll be struck by lightning if you act pretentious. Sister Souring can't stand you anymore. Tian Souring was furious. She turned around and was about to teach Xiaoqin a lesson when he suddenly opened his mouth and sang, You're a song in my heart. A flower blooms in my heart. You're my life's. This? You actually remembered it? You must have learned it before. You purposely acted dumb in front of Sister Souring, right? When Xiaoqin finished singing, Tian Souring was so surprised that she couldn't close her mouth. She had listened to this song for several days, but she couldn't remember it completely, especially the dialect part, which was even more difficult to sing. She didn't expect that counterattack guy would be able to master it after listening to it once. No matter how Tian Suruan thought about it, it was impossible. He must have known how to sing before. Sour, what are you guys talking about? Xiao Yi, have you memorized the lyrics? Xiao Chen was just about to say something when he heard the curtain of the changing room open. He turned around and saw Su Chuxia walking out of the changing room. Su Chuxia was dressed in a pink evening gown. The white belt around her waist showed off her slender waist perfectly. Her hair was tied into 2 ponytails, which swayed as she walked. Coupled with her slightly powdered face, she looked extremely adorable. Xiao Chen was a little entranced. He had met 2 goddesses that night. If Ling Qinyu's attire was that of a mature woman, then Su Chuxia's makeup was that of a lowly. Although they were both goddesses at the level of the campus belle, they each had their own merits when it came to makeup. It was hard to say who was better or worse, but both were able to attract everyone's attention. Of course. After Sister Sauring's training, Counterattack Guy has already memorized the lyrics. Tian Soren gave his guarantee as he stared at Su Chuxia. With a face full of admiration he said, "Wow. Chuxia, I have to say you're so cute in this outfit. Sister Sauring is falling in love with you. If you could add a pair of cat ears and cat paws, I'm sure you'd be able to charm a lot of guys." "It's okay." Su Chuxia blushed. She subconsciously tugged at the hem of her dress and was about to say something when the MC's voice came from the stage. "Next up, the finale of our art festival will be the new campus belle, Su Chuxia. She and her partner will perform a love duet, You Are a Song in My Heart. Everyone please give them a round of applause and welcome them on stage." Ow ow ow. Before the MC could finish speaking, the boys below the stage could no longer hold back their excitement. They howled and applauded enthusiastically. Some of the bolder ones even whistled. Finally, Su Chuxia's turn to take the stage. Su Chuxia originally wanted to make use of the time to rehearse with Xiao Chen, but the show had already started. She could only leave room 2 with Xiao Chen and get on stage, praying that Xiao Yi wouldn't make any mistakes. "Chuxia, you can do it. You must defeat that school belle called Ling something and become the South Wave Bay of tonight's gala. You're the best." Tian Sauring stood at the door, waving his little fist at Su Chuxia's back as he shouted. Su Chuxia was speechless. However, she was not in the mood to argue with Tian Sauring. She took a deep breath and got on stage with Xiao Chen. Su Chuxia, who was dressed in a cute and adorable style, immediately attracted everyone's attention. As she got on stage, many of the guys had hearts in their eyes as they cheered happily. As expected of the campus belle who is on par with Ling Qianyu. "Su Chuxia is so cute. I want to be her knight in shining armor. I've decided to jump ship. From now on I'll be Su Chuxia's hardcore fan." But what's with the guy beside her? This person looks a little familiar. This was Xiao Chen's 3rd time on stage tonight. He didn't even change out of his clothes, so the sharp-eyed students recognized him immediately. Many of them looked at Xiao Chen with envy and jealousy. Whispers began to spread from the audience. Why is it this guy again? Didn't he just dance with Ling Qianyu? I think he performed in the martial arts club's show. He even smashed rocks. Even though he's just an extra, that's still his 2nd appearance. I didn't expect him to do it a 3rd time. What extra? He smashed that red-haired guy and the ninja several times with rocks. He even smashed rocks on his chest. How can he be an extra? Exactly. These 3 shows are the most popular tonight. I think the Best Supporting Actor award for this year's Arts Festival will definitely go to this guy. The music began to play on the stage, and the people who were whispering to each other stopped and focused their attention on the performance. After all, their focus was still on Su Chuxia. Their envy and jealousy toward Xiao Chen was only temporary. However, Shuigao was different. He glared at Xiao Chen fiercely and clenched his fists so tightly that his nails dug into his flesh. He was calculating in his heart. Since he couldn't stop Xiao Chen from going on stage with Su Chuxia, he would let him have his fun for now. After the performance was over, he would find a chance to kill him. Meanwhile, in an inconspicuous corner of the audience, Ling Qianyu was wearing a large hat and a pair of sunglasses that covered her entire face. She was quietly watching Xiao Chen and Su Chuxia's performance. Chapter 945. Even though he was wearing sunglasses and his expression couldn't be seen, Ling Qianyu was very angry in her heart. She felt that Xiao Chen was really too much of a playboy. He clearly already had 2 girlfriends, but he still lingered around School Belle Su all day long. Could it be that he was planning to be like the ancient people, an emperor with 3 palaces and 6 courtyards? Why didn't this guy have any self-awareness? He was so annoying. She had asked Xiao Chen to perform because she had no other choice, but she didn't think that Su Chuxia would do the same. After all, How could there be so many coincidences? On the other hand, Xiaochen didn't care about the comments from the audience, nor did he notice Shui Gao and Ling Qinyu's gazes. He was focused on singing with Su Chuxia. However, what surprised him was that even though it was Su Chuxia's first time on stage, she wasn't as nervous as Ling Qinyu. Instead, her voice was mellow and her aura was strong. Her stage presence and performance were both strong. This time no one came to disturb them. The duet ended smoothly. Su Chuxia performed surprisingly well, and Xiaochen's voice was deep and clear. Coupled with the live sound system, the performance was a great success. When the two of them left the stage, they received a huge round of applause and cheers. Su Chuxia used this song to solidify her position as the new campus belle. Some of the guys were originally Ling Qinyu's fans, but after seeing Su Chuxia's performance, they were immediately attracted by her fresh and cute style and became her die-hard fans. The gala ended with Su Chuxia and Xiaochen singing. All the audience members were satisfied and thought that the trip was worth it. They all rushed back to their dorms to show off to their roommates who didn't attend. The performance of the martial arts club was also a great success. They recruited many new members, and there were also many girls who wanted to join the club because of Wang Jingtian. The president and vice president were very happy. After some discussion, they decided to treat all the members to a midnight snack to celebrate. Yao Yao, are you free later? Let's eat something together? After the event, Ling Qinyu avoided the crowd that was rushing to the dormitory and went backstage to room number 3. She found Qing Minjing and invited her for supper. She planned to take this opportunity to talk about Xiaochen with her. I'm afraid I can't. I'm going to celebrate with the people of the martial arts club later. What's the matter? Qing Minjing was a little surprised. She remembered that in order to maintain her figure, Ling Qinyu rarely ate supper at night. Why would she suddenly look for her? If that's the case, then forget it, let's meet up another day. I'm going back to the dorm first, bye. Ling Qinyu forced a smile, then turned around and left the room with a heavy heart, heading in the direction of the dormitory. First miss, why is Ling Qinyu looking for you? Xiaochen had just finished his work when he turned around to see Ling Qinyu leave in disappointment. Out of curiosity, he ran over to ask her about it. I don't know. She seems to have something to say to me, but when I ask her, she won't say it directly. Looks weird. Qing Minjing shook her head in confusion. She stared at Ling Qinyu's departing figure and felt a little puzzled. This chick is the same as Tian Soren. She's always nagging. Since she doesn't want to talk, then forget it, Xiaochen said. It seems like you know them quite well. You've interacted quite a bit in the past. What stage is your relationship at? Qing Minjing could tell that something was amiss. She could not help but glance at Xiaochen as she asked indifferently. No, you've misunderstood. Xiaochen suddenly had an awkward expression. He quickly changed the topic and said, Oh right, the people from the martial arts club are still waiting for us. I've also finished packing, let's go. I think you're the one who's nagging. Qing Minjing muttered. She couldn't be bothered with Xiaochen's trivial matters anymore and left the hall with him. At this time, the red-haired guy and the young ninja had already finished bandaging their wounds. The two of them thought that even though they didn't do a good job, they still had to go back and report to Shuigao. It wasn't because of any Jianghu morality, but because the red-haired guy felt that, after all, that guy was a stupid nouveau riche. He was as easy to fool as those two experts. Maybe he would be useful in the future? Thinking of this, the two of them came out from the corner and turned into the hall. Sure enough, they saw Shuigao waiting for them there. You didn't cripple Xiao Yi, but instead, you made a pig's head. You even lost face on the stage and made the martial arts club proud. Which group are you guys from? Did you receive money from the other party? When Shuigao saw the two of them limping over and bandaged up like mummies, he immediately exploded in anger. You can't blame us. It's not like we didn't find an opportunity. You also saw it. Actually, my subordinates wanted to use the performance as an excuse to crush Xiao Yi to death with bricks and gravel. However, we were nervous when we went on stage, so we didn't control our strength. After all, our idea was perfect, but it was more difficult to put it into practice. The red-haired guy helplessly explained. After hearing the explanation, Shuigao's anger subsided a little. However, he was still in a bad mood. You two are too inexperienced. Isn't it just going on stage? What's there to be nervous about? Who asked us to be too strong? Otherwise we wouldn't have used so much force. The red-haired guy had a face full of regret. He quickly added, Moreover, there were so many people watching, so it wasn't easy for us to carry it out. We were afraid that someone would notice something was wrong. At that time, it's fine for us to bear the responsibility, but it wouldn't be good if we dragged you into it. Hearing this, Shuigao felt that what the red-haired guy said was reasonable. They did try their best on stage, so he didn't say anything more. He waved his hand and said, "Forget it. Let's put this matter behind us. I'll treat you guys to a meal, but I don't have the payment we agreed on." The reason why Shuigao still wanted to treat the red-haired guy to a meal was because he thought that even if it didn't work out this time, it would still be beneficial for him to get to know the common folk. Of course, even if you give it to us, we'd be too embarrassed to accept it. The red-haired guy was overjoyed and quickly said a few polite words. As expected of a fool with too much money. Not only did he not want the advance payment, he even treated them to a meal. When they arrived at the restaurant outside of the school, Shuigao ordered a table full of dishes and even called over a few young models to accompany them. After a few rounds of toasting, they started to call each other brothers. Their relationship was very close, as if they were old friends who hadn't seen each other for many years. After 3 rounds of drinks, the topic naturally shifted to Xiaoqin. "Young Master Shui, I have to say that you're really a good friend. Even though I, the red-haired guy, messed up your matter today, don't worry. I'll leave my words here. As long as I find a suitable opportunity, I'll definitely cripple that brat for you. Consider it as making up for my mistake and apologizing to you," the red-haired guy said heroically. Then he raised his cup and clinked it with Shuigao's, tilted his head back and downed it. Chapter 946. Okay. I can rest assured with your words. As long as you do a good job, you can still come to me for money. Shuigao was very happy and drank a glass of wine. The red-haired guy was secretly delighted. This idiot was indeed a fool with a lot of money. He hurriedly poured more wine and took the opportunity to flatter Shuigao, making young Master Shui feel so smug that he almost forgot his own surname. Under the harmonious atmosphere, the red-haired guy put down his glass and touched the tender model's chest. He asked with a breath that reeked of alcohol, "Young Master Shui, may I ask, what is the grudge between you and Xiao Yi? Why are you so eager to mess with him?" Shuigao frowned and slammed the table. "It's all because of the campus belle, Su Chuxia, and her bestie, Tian Souring. Those 2 chicks were both of the highest quality. If it wasn't for them, why would this young master cause trouble for Xiao Yi, that worthless man? It's fine that he took advantage of Ling Qinyu, but he even dared to touch the girl I like. Isn't he courting death?" "Is that so?" The red-haired guy rubbed his chin and smirked. "That's simple. Why don't we help you create a hero to save the beauty? It's simple and convenient and we don't have to worry about it. We can pretend to be hooligans and you can be the hero protecting the beauty. That's it." Looking at the red-haired guy, Shuigao thought to himself, "What's the point of pretending with the 2 of you? You're hooligans. But this is a good idea. It saves me the trouble of figuring out other tricks. Okay, we'll do as you say. Alright, let me show you the photos of the 2 girls. Don't get the wrong person." Shuigao immediately agreed. He took out his phone and showed him a photo. It was a photo of Su Chuxia and Tian Souring. Shuigao pointed at the 2 girls in the photo. "It's them? TSK, not bad. They are indeed the best beauties, but their styles are different." The red-haired guy took a quick glance and didn't see anything wrong. But after looking carefully for a while, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. "This girl looks familiar. Where have I seen her before?" "Of course you're familiar. Xiao Yi just performed the finale with her." Shuigao snapped. When he recalled how Xiao Yi and Su Chuxia were flirting with each other while singing a love song, Shuigao was extremely displeased. He should have been the one standing there instead of Xiao Yi. He didn't expect to be taken advantage of by that idiot. "That's not right, I'm talking about the other one." Red Hair blinked his hazy eyes as he pointed at Tian Souring in the photo. Du Rongwei happened to be sitting on the other side of Red Fur, and when he heard that, he also moved his head closer. "Familiar? It's normal for her to appear around the school." Shuigao was about to continue, but Du Rongwei suddenly shivered, and the chopsticks in his hand fell on the table. He exclaimed, "Brother Red Fur. It was her. That's the girl we're looking for, that's her." "That's right." After being yelled at by Du Rongwei, the originally dizzy Red Hair immediately sobered up. He took a closer look. Wasn't this the person those 2 experts were looking for? Isn't this too much of a coincidence? Although they didn't wear out their iron shoes, it was really effortless to find her. However, after the initial shock, Red Hair immediately calmed down and realized that something was wrong. If they found her immediately, wouldn't they be unable to scam money in the future? Thinking up to this point, Red Hair immediately glared at Du Rongwei and lectured, "What the F***ck are you yelling for? Did you drink too much yellow wine? Don't spout nonsense. Let's hurry up and talk about young Master Shui saving the damsel in distress." "Oh right. I got excited when I saw a beauty, haha. I'll punish myself with a glass of wine." Du Rongwei wasn't an idiot. After being stunned for a moment, he quickly reacted and hurriedly said a few words to cover up. Then he picked up the wine glass and poured it into his mouth. "Young Master Du, you can't do it. You only drank a few bottles of wine and you're already in your head? How dare you come out with such a low alcohol tolerance?" Shui Gao was also a little dizzy from the wine, so he didn't suspect anything. However, he looked down on Du Rongwei. Du Rongwei didn't look like a human after drinking a little. "It's fine. Just ignore him. He's just like that." Red Hair hurriedly took out a cigarette and stuffed it into Shui Gao's mouth. Then he took the opportunity to change the topic. "I recognize these two beauties. However, after thinking about it, I've already shown my face today. I don't think I can help you save the damsel in distress. Otherwise, it'll be very easy to be exposed." "Then what should we do?" Shui Gao frowned. "This Red Hair wouldn't get cold feet, right?" "Hey young Master Shui, don't be anxious. Of course, I have another way." Red Hair laughed sinisterly and said, "When we get back, I'll call my two subordinates over. When the time comes, they'll definitely not be suspected." "And you've thought it through. Then let's do it." Shui Gao's eyes lit up. He nodded in agreement and was very satisfied. "Young Master Shui, don't worry. This time I definitely won't screw you up. I guarantee that you'll be able to get the beauties back." Red Hair picked up the wine glass and the two of them happily drank it in one gulp. Shui Gao put down the wine glass and turned to look at Du Rongwei with disdain. "Rongwei, learn more from your big brother in the future. What's the most important thing in the 21st century? It's intelligence. Don't be startled all day long. Go back and train your alcohol tolerance before coming out. Otherwise you won't even know how you died." Yes, young Master Shui is right. When I go back, I'll definitely read more books and newspapers, and drink more." Du Rongwei was ridiculed by Shui Gao for no reason. He felt very gloomy in his heart, but he didn't dare to refute. He could only say a few perfunctory words and continue drinking. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Red Hair was still thinking about Tian Suruan. He didn't have the mood to play with the young model anymore. After saying goodbye to Shui Gao, he brought Du Rongwei and the young ninja back. When the three of them returned to their residence, they sat down and started a meeting. They were discussing whether this Tian Suruan was the person they were looking for. They had all seen the portrait before. The person in the portrait looked very similar to Tian Suruan in Shui Gao's photo. They were practically carved from the same mold. But should they report it or not? After all, their current source of income depended on the two experts. If they were to tell them that they had found the girl, they might not be able to live happily in the future. They would have to go to the streets to collect money. In the end, Du Rongwei came up with an idea. It was better not to tell the two experts so that they wouldn't lose their long-term meal ticket. They just had to lock onto the target and make sure that the person didn't run away. Red Hair agreed to this plan. He didn't care that it was already late and immediately went to Heiyu and Bai Chi's residence. Bai Chi and Heiyu had just returned from drinking outside. Each of them was hugging a young model and teasing them. Originally, they were a little unhappy that they were disturbed by Red Hair. However, when they heard that Red Hair was about to lock onto the target, the two of them immediately came to their senses. They told Red Hair to mainly observe and try to avoid contact with the target as much as possible. Red Hair should only report to them when he was sure. Chapter 947. The red-haired guy was amused, but he still agreed. He used this as an excuse to ask for another 200,000 yuan in search expenses. Then he went back happily, leaving the two masters to continue their intimate relationship with the young model. At the same time, the members of the martial arts club were also celebrating in a restaurant outside the school. Everyone was happy that the martial arts club had become famous today. The atmosphere was very warm, and there were a few empty boxes of beer. Everyone had a whole new level of respect for Xiaoqin. So it turned out that he had been hiding his strength. He actually knew how to shatter a boulder on his chest and brought glory to the martial arts club. Especially Jianghu, he looked at Xiaoqin meaningfully, but he didn't say anything. When the two of them went to the toilet together, Jianghu asked mysteriously, "Xiaoyi, let me ask you, are you a cultivator?" "Well, aren't you one too?" Xiaoqin didn't deny it. Instead he smiled knowingly. Jia Muzhen had already seen through him, so there was no point in hiding it anymore. Jia Muzhen was a good person, so it didn't matter if he knew. TSK, it seems that you are also a person with a story. Jia Muzhen smacked his lips and nodded. You are still the best. You can actually hide it from me for so long. If it wasn't for the red-haired guy coming on stage today, I'm afraid I would still be in the dark. Having said that, Jia Muzhen didn't mean to blame Xiao Chen. After all, everyone had their own difficulties. It was normal not to say it. Didn't he also hide his strength? Xiao Chen's expression turned solemn as he changed the topic. That's right. I just happened to want to ask you something. Do you know where the Heavenly Jade Mine is? Originally, Xiao Chen didn't know about the Tianyu Mine. However, before dinner, Ling Qianxue suddenly received news from Xing Girl. She learned that Xiao Chen's father was captured as a laborer and sent to a place called the Tianyu Mine to mine spirit jade. She didn't dare to delay and secretly told the information to Xiao Chen. This was all the information that Xing Chick had revealed. The amount of information was very limited. Even the location of the Sky Jade Mine was not clear. Xiao Chen could not let Ling Qianxue ask in return. Otherwise, it would be easy to expose himself. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen decided to ask Jia Muzhen. He was a member of the internal pugilistic world, so he might be able to provide some information. However, even if it was just a place, Xiao Chen was still very excited. At least he knew his father's whereabouts, which was much better than being in the dark before. Heavenly Jade Mine? Where did you hear about this mine? Jia Muzhen stared blankly for a moment before asking with some doubt. There are some things that are not convenient to say at the moment. I hope you can understand. I just want to inquire about this mine. Although Xiao Chen did not think that Jia Muzhen would betray him, he did not intend to let him know too much for the time being. Nothing, I'm just curious. This is because our Jia family has shares in the Heavenly Jade Mine. Jia Muzhen didn't mind and nodded his head as he replied. In truth, this wasn't a secret. Almost everyone in the martial arts world knew about it. Since Xiao Yi had friends in the martial arts world, he just needed to ask around to find out. What? Then you must know where the Heavenly Jade Mine is? Xiao Chen was suddenly shocked and couldn't wait to ask. He felt that his heart was about to jump out. He didn't expect things to go so smoothly. Originally, he just wanted to ask around with the mentality of trying it out. He didn't expect to really ask the right person. In other words, he would find his father soon? How would I know this? Jia Muzhen's face collapsed as he helplessly said, I'm not a direct descendant of the family. Moreover, even among the direct descendants, this kind of family secret is only qualified to know by a few people in power. Most of the direct descendants are also not clear about it. If that's the case, then if it's convenient for you, can you help me ask around? Xiao Chen was a little disappointed, but what Jia Muzhen said was also reasonable. Moreover, now that he had a clue, it was better than knowing nothing. Go home? I'm afraid I won't go back. There's no point in going back. Jia Muzhen's expression looked a little gloomy, and his tone was bleak. Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. He vaguely understood what Jia Muzhen meant. He could see that Jia Muzhen's situation in the family shouldn't be too good. It was probably similar to the situation when he was chased out of the Xiao family. Therefore, he comforted him by patting his shoulder and didn't continue to ask. After leaving the toilet, they put their arms around each other's shoulders and returned to the private room to continue the celebration. Everyone in the martial arts club was in high spirits. They toasted and drank to their heart's content until midnight. Everyone else returned to their dormitories. Xiao Chen brought the Miss and Ling Qianxue directly to the Express Hotel, preparing to start the 3 cultivation. For some reason, the Miss's recent advancement speed was especially fast. She was already an expert at the 5th level of the Golden Core stage. However, Xiao Chen was still stuck at the bottleneck of the peak of the 9th level of the Golden Core stage. He had been unable to break through, which made him very depressed. The next day was Sunday. Xiao Qin and Cheng Minjing continued their dual cultivation in the room. Meanwhile, Ling Qianxue left the hotel early in the morning with the reply she had prepared beforehand. She went to report to Miss Xing. In fact, Xiao Chen's reply was very simple. It was only one sentence. Could it be the Jiao family's Tianyu mine? The reason why Xiao Chen did this was to use this opportunity to continue to get information from Miss Xing. Even if he couldn't find out the exact location of the Tianyu mine, as long as he could obtain useful clues related to his father, he would be very satisfied. How's the matter going? What's Xiao Yi's attitude? Miss Xing anxiously waited for the whole night. When she finally saw Ling Qianxue return, She couldn't be bothered with cultivation anymore and asked anxiously. I told him about the situation, but he didn't seem that surprised. He only said, "Could it be the Jia family's Tianyu mine?" After that he didn't continue asking. I also didn't know how to answer him, so I could only brush him off. Ling Qinxue put on a helpless expression and said what Xiao Chen told her. That's all he said? Do you have any other opinions? Miss Xing was a little dumbfounded after hearing this. She was very puzzled. Was there something wrong with Xiao Yi's brain? Could it be that he really wasn't Xiao Qin? That Xiao Feng wasn't his biological father? Otherwise, why didn't he feel excited or anxious at all? Yes. He didn't seem to be too enthusiastic about the whereabouts of Xiao Chen's father. He spent the whole night with me, that. Ling Qinxue slightly lowered her head and said with a little embarrassment. Then how did you ask? Was it like what I told you? What was the situation like at that time? Describe it to me in detail. Miss Xing frowned and asked. Xiao Yi's response was really too dull. His answer was also unexpected. It was simply unbelievable. Chapter 948. Yes, I did it according to what you said. When I was doing it with him, I suddenly asked him, "Do you want to know where your father went?" "He's at the Heavenly Jade Mine." Ling Qinxue nodded and repeated the virtual scene. And then? Xing Qinxue asked impatiently. And then he didn't wake up like you said. Instead he was incomparably brave. Ling Qinshue's cheeks suddenly turned crimson. She bit her lower lip and said, "He only asked me one question. I didn't know the specifics, so I didn't dare to answer. Then he said that his father was quite good and the Xiao family didn't lack money. Why would he go to the Jia family to work as a laborer? And then there was nothing else." Xing Qinshue's head was filled with question marks. She was speechless and felt even more depressed than before. What the F***ck was that reply? How did Xiao Yi know that the Heavenly Jade Mine was related to the Jia family? And this was clearly a matter of the Wulin. Where did he get the information from? It seemed that Xiao Yi was indeed very suspicious. But it was too presumptuous to confirm that he was Xiao Qin based on this. Could it be that he was Xiao Qin and had already found out that his father was at the Heavenly Jade Mine? Was that why he wasn't surprised at all? And he subconsciously mentioned the Jia family? That's right. I'm afraid that's really the case. Otherwise, Xiao Yi's inexplicable behavior would be too hard to explain. Xing Qinxue felt that she had sorted out her thoughts, so she didn't dwell on this anymore. Instead, she said to Ling Qinxue, "I roughly understand the situation. It seems that this method is somewhat effective. You can continue to look for Xiao Yi tonight. The method is still the same. Use Xiao Feng as bait and test his reaction." Test him again? Ling Qinxue was stunned and asked subconsciously. What? You don't want to? Xing Qinshue's face darkened. She was a little unhappy. Why didn't this Ling Qinxue have any spirit of dedication to the organization? She only knew how to make excuses when she encountered something. No, what I mean is that I don't have any more information that can attract Xiao Yi's attention, so I can't continue to test him. If we talk about other topics, he may not be interested and I won't be able to test him. Ling Qinxue explained helplessly. Ling Qinxue felt that even though Xing Qinxue looked powerful, her brain wasn't that good. Since you want to test others, you should at least throw out some valuable bait, right? Otherwise, why would he take the bait? Even if he really thought that Jiang Taigong was fishing and that the willing would take the bait, Xiao Qin was not a fool. You're right. Then wait for me for a while, I'll go and ask again. Xing realized that she had misunderstood him. She was a little embarrassed, but she didn't suspect anything. She directly walked into the room and took out her phone to call Elder Sunday. Qin Xiao Xing, how you? Qing. Xiao. Reporting to Elder Sun, there is already some progress on this side, but we still need to. Little Miss Xing explained the entire process in detail and analyzed her own ideas. She also took the opportunity to request for more information. Why is it so troublesome? Elder Sun's voice sounded a little unhappy and he angrily lectured, "You've been in the sect for a long time. You should know that this Heavenly Jade Mine is also related to our Awakening Heaven sect, and it is a top secret. Even an elder of my level cannot know the exact location of the mine. How could you be so reckless?" "I know I really don't have any other methods. Since we are already at this critical juncture, I really don't want all my previous efforts to go to waste. Thus, I will have to trouble Elder Sunday. I hope that you will be able to ask around within your capabilities." Hearing Elder Sun's displeasure, Little Lady Xing hurriedly and respectfully explained. I'll try my best. However, don't hold too much hope. Use your brain and think of other methods. Don't always rely on the sect for help. Although Elder Sun agreed, he still reprimanded Xiao Xing. He didn't wait for her to say anything else and directly hung up. Hearing the busy tone from the other side of the phone, Miss Xing secretly sighed. She scolded Xiao Qin fiercely in her heart. This smelly, shameless guy, where exactly did he hide? If I find him in the future, the first thing I'll do is give him a good beating. That Xiaoyi is really something. He said something without rhyme or reason and caused me to be reprimanded by Elder Sun for no reason. If you're Xiao Qin, then just say it. What are you trying to do with all these tricks? Isn't this just wasting time? What kind of person is this? At this moment, in the Express Hotel, Xiao Qin and Cheng Menjing were concentrating on their dual cultivation. Suddenly they sneezed. Xiao Qin felt it was strange. Could it be that someone was bad-mouthing him? Otherwise, as a powerful cultivator, how could he catch a cold? Subconsciously opening his eyes, Xiao Qin saw that there was something wrong with Cheng Menjing, who was sitting across from him. Her eyes were slightly closed and there was a faint blush on her white face. Her breathing was also a bit rushed. Blinking his eyes, Xiao Qin didn't quite understand what was going on. Could it be that the young miss was affected by him and Ling Qianxue last night and was a bit amorous? Xiao Qin looked at the usually arrogant and conservative young mistress. She was currently naked with her eyes closed, but her face was flushed red. She looked adorable and alluring, and Xiao Qin could not help but feel a little tempted. He wanted to go up and take a bite. But Xiao Qin was afraid that if he made too much noise, he would scare the other party. After repeatedly struggling in his heart for a while, he simply sneakily reached out his hand and touched the slender waist of the young miss that didn't have a trace of excess fat. When he touched the skin of the young miss waist, Xiao Qin only felt a wave of delicate and smooth touch. That wonderful feeling made him unconsciously swallow his saliva. His fingers moved up bit by bit as if they were possessed, feeling the smooth skin that was like milk. Just as Xiao Qin's trembling hand was about to touch the bottom of the young miss' little mound, the phone beside him suddenly rang. Xiao Qin, you big pervert. You want to take advantage of me when I'm not paying attention, right? Hearing the phone ring, Cheng Menjing, who was originally immersed in the state of cultivation, slightly shook and woke up. Immediately, she felt that Xiao Qin's restless hand was wandering around her body. She hurriedly pushed his hand away and unwillingly shrunk back, cursing at him. Hee, I kind of couldn't help it. Xiao Qin awkwardly laughed a few times and was very annoyed in his heart. Chapter 949. If not for the sudden ringing of the phone with his cultivation, he could have succeeded without Cheng Menjing noticing. He didn't know which idiot called him so early in the morning. The phone kept ringing. Xiao Qin was afraid that Cheng Menjing would be unhappy, so he didn't dare to move. Can't you hold it in a little? You were so intense with Ling Qianxue last night. Haven't you had enough? Cheng Menjing glared at Xiao Qin. Seeing that he was still sitting there with a silly smile, with no intention of picking up the phone, she said, All right, hurry up and pick up the phone. It's so noisy. With that, Cheng Menjing got off the bed and walked to the sofa to put on her clothes. Only then did Xiao Qin take the phone and look at the caller ID. It was actually Tian Suruan. The phone was still ringing. Xiao Qin pressed the answer button. Hello, Miser Souring, why are you looking for me? Counterattack guy, why are you taking so long to pick up? Did you drop it in the toilet? Tian Souring asked. Without waiting for Xiao Qin to answer, she continued, Sister Souring is asking you, are you free today? Sister Souring wants to invite you to my house as a guest. Guest? I'm not free. Xiao Qin was a little dissatisfied and directly rejected. If it wasn't for this Miser Souring calling at the critical moment, he wouldn't have been discovered by Miss. What a waste of a great opportunity. You're here to help. What? You're not free? You're not the most handsome guy in school. Why are you so busy? Tian Souring only realized that Xiao Qin was not coming. She was so angry that she almost jumped up. Oh, you know that I have 2 girlfriends now. I'm so busy every day. Where would I have the time to visit you? Xiao Qin rolled his eyes and said calmly. Aya, it's rare for Sister Souring to have this idea. Can you give me some face? Maybe if Sister Souring is happy, you'll be able to turn the tables? At that time you'll have 3 girlfriends. How cool would that be? Tian Wangchuan could tell that Xiao Qin wasn't very happy, so he could only say it with a smile. However, in his heart he was cursing Xiao Qin to death. She originally thought that this stupid man would gladly agree, but she didn't expect that he would be given the cold shoulder. Why did you invite me over for no reason at all? You don't seem like such a generous person. Do you have some ulterior motives? Tell me the truth. Xiao Chen's anger had almost dissipated and he asked curiously. This Tian Soren had always been stingy. Now that she suddenly said that she wanted to treat them, it was inevitable that people would suspect her original intentions. Sister Sour Sour was thinking about how you helped Wuxia yesterday, so she wanted to treat you well. Wuxia had the same idea, but she was too embarrassed to say it, so she asked me to say it for her. Ah. Just as Tian Suruan finished speaking, Su Chuxia's voice came through the phone again. Sour Sour, you were the one who wanted to treat Xiao Yi and the others. Why did you drag me into it? I'll personally thank him. Su Chuxia protested softly, but Xiao Chen heard her clearly with his powerful senses. Chuxia, don't ruin my show. Tian Soren quickly made a shushing gesture at Su Chuxia, and then said loudly into the phone, Counterattack man, stop being so unreasonable. Hurry up and come over. Also, bring that four-eyed guy from your dorm and your 2 girlfriends over. Sister Sour Sour will be waiting for you guys. Alright, I'll inform them then. Seeing that Tian Soren insisted, Xiao Chen had no choice but to agree. Although he didn't know why this greedy Sour wanted to invite so many people over, he had nothing better to do anyway, so he might as well go. At least she wouldn't have any bad intentions. Alright. Sister Sour will send you the address in a moment. Come over as soon as possible. Tian Soren said happily when Xiao Yi agreed. Then she hung up the phone and sent her location to Xiao Chen on WeChat. In fact, Tian Soren wanted to treat everyone to a meal mainly to thank them. She could tell that she was very safe during this period of time, so she was sure that it wasn't that four-eyed guy, Jianghu, who exposed her. Otherwise, the 2 masters from the Jia family would have found her long ago. Thinking about it this way, Tian Suruan felt that his attitude towards Jianghu was too poor. At that time he even threw a tantrum at Jianghu. He felt very apologetic and felt that he owed Jianghu, so he wanted to apologize. However, the prideful Tian Soren couldn't bring herself to look for Jianghu directly, so she came up with the idea of using Xiao Yi as a shield to invite everyone over for a meal. She would treat this meal as an apology. On the other hand, she had promised Xiao Yi that if he could help keep an eye on Jianghu, she would give him a mysterious reward. Now that she was safe and sound, it was time to fulfill the reward. However, since she was a greedy Sour, she felt that going to a restaurant was too expensive, and it would be a waste of her wallet. It was better to eat at home. Not only was it cheap, but it was also very safe and it could reduce the exposure. After putting down the phone, Xiao Chen explained the situation to Cheng Menjing. She didn't have any objections, so Xiao Chen called Jianghu and Ling Chenxue respectively and told them that there was a meal at noon. He asked them to meet at the gate of Lanqing University. Half an hour later, everyone met outside the school gate. Although Jianghu didn't quite understand why he was invited, he still obediently bought a big bag of fruits and carried it. After all, it was his first time being a guest at someone else's house. He couldn't go empty-handed, that would be too shabby. Xiao Chen called a private car with Didi Taxi. After getting in, he told the driver the address Tian Yoshi gave him. Although he already knew that it was Su Chuxia's new home, he pretended that he didn't know the way and let the driver navigate it himself to avoid suspicion. On the way, Jianghu curiously asked Xiao Chen why Tian Yoshi would invite him. Although Xiao Chen could roughly guess that the greedy Sour felt guilty towards Jianghu, which was why he specially invited him to dinner, Xiao Chen couldn't say it directly, so he could only vaguely cover it up. When they arrived at the neighborhood, Xiao Chen jumped out of the car and subconsciously led everyone to the building where Su Chuxia and Tian Yoshi lived. After entering the elevator, he skillfully pressed the button for the 15th floor. This series of actions, no matter how one looked at it, seemed like he was very familiar with the place. Cheng Menjing saw everything and guessed that there must be some unknown secret between Xiao Chen and the 2 girls. Although Xiao Chen mentioned once that he had protected Su Chuxia, there was no need to protect her home, right? However, unlike before, Cheng Menjing didn't become suspicious and insist on getting to the bottom of it. Instead, she glanced at Xiao Chen and chose to temporarily ignore his suspicious behavior. Chapter 950. Cheng Menjing was a little surprised by this change. After pondering for a while, she felt that ever since she became a cultivator, she was no longer as unreasonable towards Xiao Chen as before. Perhaps cultivation could make one become more broad-minded. Actually, the Missy did not know that her tolerance had nothing to do with becoming a cultivator. It was because the two of them had supported each other and depended on each other for a long time. She had already developed a deep sense of trust and dependence towards Xiao Qin. It was just that she did not realize it at all. Ding dong. Arriving at the door, Xiao Qin pressed the doorbell. Soon, a series of ta-ta-ta footsteps could be heard coming from the room. Welcome, welcome. You're all here? Tian Suren's enthusiastic greeting could be heard the moment the door opened. Seeing the big bag of fruits in Jiamuzin's hands, she smiled so widely that her eyes almost disappeared. She said, "Io Four Eyes even brought papayas. How did you know that Sister Soran has been using papayas to enhance her breasts? You're so thoughtful. Come in and take a seat. Don't stand on ceremony. Treat this place like your own home. Io, it's so heavy." The last cry came from Tian Soran, who was just about to take the fruits from Jiamuzin's hands. However, when she held them in her hands, she felt a sudden weight. Her arm was almost dislocated. Jiamuzin hurriedly took the fruits in his hands, took off his shoes and entered the room. He turned around and asked Tian Soran with a smile, "Let me do it. Where should I put these fruits?" "Over there. Just put them in the fridge over there." Tian Sour pointed at the fridge in the corner of the living room and gave out instructions. "The freshness preservation layer is on top. Help Sister Sour arrange the fruits one by one. Also take out the vegetables and beef." "Alright. Oh, and the prawns, crabs and ribs in the freezer layer." "Miser Soran, it's almost 12 o'clock. Don't tell me you haven't finished cooking yet? Are you going to let us starve to death?" "I'm starving." Xiao Qin had a bad premonition when he saw Jiamuzin taking out a bunch of fresh vegetables from the fridge and sending them to the kitchen in a huff. "Counterattack, man, are you stupid? Sister Sour and Chuxia are just two people, how can they cook so many dishes?" Tian Sour said matter-of-factly. What are you going to do?" Xiao Qin almost collapsed. "If you don't cook, why did you ask us to eat? You should at least order KFC or McDonald's as a gesture." "Don't worry, Sister Sour has already thought about it. Now that all of you are here, there will be 6 of us. Each of us can make a specialty dish and that will be enough. Moreover, it's more lively when we eat. Isn't Sister Sour very talented?" Tian Sour explained proudly. "You're too talented, I'm convinced." Xiao Qin was too stunned to say anything. He could only nod his head speechlessly. This money grubber was really powerful. It even saved him the effort of cooking. How could this be considered a treat? It was clearly a group meal. Sour, you're still talking." Su Chuxia's dissatisfied voice came from the kitchen. "You invited everyone over but you don't even want to cook. You didn't even wash the vegetables, how are you going to put them in the pot later? Stop chatting, hurry up and help me wash and cut the vegetables." "Okay, Sister Sour will be there right away." Tian Sour stuck out her tongue and gave Xiao Qin a look. "Counterattack, man, didn't you hear that Chuxia wants us to help? Stop dilly-dallying and hurry up. Opportunity waits for no man. Alright, let's do it together, or else we won't be able to eat a hot meal today." Xiao Qin smiled bitterly and shook his head. He rolled up his sleeves and walked into the kitchen first. He looked around, scooped up the fish in the bucket and skillfully cleaned it up. The others didn't mind so much. They all rushed into the kitchen and began to help wash the fruits, pick the vegetables and cut the meat. The kitchen wasn't big and 6 people went in at once. Fortunately, everyone was quite slim and everyone had their own tasks so it didn't look crowded. These people came from different places and had their own backgrounds, but at the end of the day they were just carefree university students. Plus, the martial arts club's performance and Su Chuxia's finale were very exciting, so they had a lot to talk about. Soon they were all on the same page. From time to time, laughter could be heard from the kitchen. Everyone was busy, and it was a happy and harmonious atmosphere. As the saying goes, there is strength in numbers. After working for an hour, the table in the living room was finally filled with delicious food. The bowls and chopsticks were also placed on the table and it was time to dig in. Other than Tian Sour, who made a simple scrambled egg with chopped green onions, everyone else basically made 2 dishes. The table was full and it looked especially tempting. After working for half a day, everyone was starving. After exchanging a few pleasantries, they sat down and picked up their chopsticks to dig in. After a round of tasting, everyone agreed that Xiao Yi's dishes were the best. Although the 2 dishes made by Cheng Yaoyao didn't look very good, they tasted very good, second only to Xiao Yi's. Although Xiao Qin and Cheng Menjing spoke very modestly, they both knew what was going on. The main reason was that Xiao Qin had learned how to cook youtiao and had always been good at cooking. On the other hand, the young mistress's cooking skills were average, and she could only rely on her vitality to add ingredients. Su Chuxiao and Tian Sourshour saw Xiao Chen's dishes as soon as they sat down. They couldn't help but feel a little surprised. The two looked at each other and picked up a piece of sweet and sour pork ribs made by Xiao Chen at the same time. After taking a bite, their mouths were instantly filled with a familiar taste. This. The two were extremely shocked. The color, taste, and aroma of the sweet and sour pork ribs were exactly the same as what Xiao Chang had made before. What was going on? Hey, counterattack guy, how did you know that Sister Sour likes sweet and sour pork ribs? Have you ever been a chef before? How did you make it so delicious? Tian Sour hurriedly swallowed the half of the sweet and sour pork ribs in her mouth. She quickly picked up 2 pieces from the plate and put them into her bowl. Then she licked her lips and asked, "Oh, someone called young Master Chang told me in my dream. After I memorized the cooking method and heat control, I wanted to try it out. I didn't expect it to be so delicious," Xiao Qin said with a smile. For some reason, Xiao Qin seemed to have the special intuition of a cultivator. He could feel that his days in university were numbered. Therefore, he chose to use a half-joking method and no longer hid his identity. Are you serious? Tian Sour didn't even care about eating the pork ribs. Her mouth was wide open in shock. However, when she saw Xiao Chen's half-smile, she became a little suspicious. "You're not lying to Sister Sour, are you?" Chapter 951. Cheng Menjian glared at Xiao Chen and explained on his behalf, "Sour, don't listen to his nonsense. This guy has been obsessed with a book called The Best Young Master Cultivator recently. He often fantasizes that he's the main character in the book. He's always neurotic. Don't bother with him if there's nothing important. Otherwise he'll get even more excited." "Oh, I see." Sister Sour was scared to death. Tian Sour patted her chest and pretended to be shocked. In order to comfort Sister Sour, "These 2 dishes belong to Sister Sour. You're not allowed to eat them. Alright, the same goes for these 2 dishes. You guys can eat the rest. Sister Sour won't fight with you." Tian Soran held her chopsticks in her mouth and stood up. She picked up the dishes Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing made and placed them in front of her. Cough, cough, cough. "Sour, what are you doing?" Cold sweat broke out on Su Chuxia's forehead. She felt embarrassed and could not help but say to Tian Sour, "You're the host who's treating everyone to dinner today. How could you do this? If you eat all the good food, what's left for the guests? I think you should just eat the scrambled eggs with chopped green onions that you made." The eggs are all burnt. How am I supposed to eat them?" Tian Sour muttered. She felt a little embarrassed. She stood up silently and put the dishes back in their original positions. She said with a wronged expression, "Alright, you guys eat. I'm going to eat the scrambled eggs. You made the dishes yourself. You have to finish them even if you have to cry, understand?" Su Chuxia held back her laughter and scolded her sternly. She had no intention of letting Tian Suruan cook. She had only arranged for her to wash the fruits and set the table. In the end, Tian Suruan seemed to have lost her mind and insisted on showing off her skills. In the end, she ended up burning the vegetables. Alright. Sister Sour will eat it." Tian Sour nodded helplessly. She took a plate of charred unknown object from the side of the table. She picked up a piece and stuffed it into her mouth with her eyes closed. Everyone stopped eating and sat there to watch the show. As expected, Tian Sour spat it out not long after she ate it. She even protested loudly, "Tui. Cough, cough, cough. Chuxia, pass Sister Sour's drink over. Is this thing edible? It was simply dog food. No, even dogs aren't willing to eat it." Isn't that the same as saying that you're a dog?" Everyone was instantly amused, clutching their stomachs as they burst out laughing. They really had to give in to Tian Suruan. Alright, I'll go make another dish. Anyway, there are plenty of eggs. Don't eat dog food. You will get a stomachache later." Xiao Qin was annoyed and amused at the same time. He shook his head and said. Without waiting for Tian Suruan to finish gargling, Xiao Qin stood up, picked up the plate of charred eggs, and walked into the kitchen to pour them away. Very quickly he made a new set and served it. Just from the looks of it, it was obvious that it was hundreds of times better than Tian Suruan's. "Wow. I was wondering how you could snatch Ling Xiaoxue away. It turns out that you relied on grabbing a woman's stomach." Tian Soren ate in big mouthfuls, not forgetting to praise Xiao Chen's cooking. After eating for a while, she suddenly thought of something. She raised her head and said excitedly, "Oh right, why don't you open a restaurant? You'll be in charge of cooking, and Sister Suruan will be in charge of collecting the money. What do you think? At the mention of money, Tian Suran's eyes shone with a golden light. Just as she was talking excitedly, Su Chuxia picked up a piece of pork rib and stuffed it into her mouth. She said angrily, "How can you be so talkative? There are so many delicious things but they can't stop your mouth. Stop talking and eat. After you're done, help me wash the dishes and clean up the room. We still have to go back to school in the afternoon." Oh, got it. The pork rib is delicious and so are the eggs. Tian Soran chewed the meat in her mouth and didn't seem to mind. She buried her head in her food again, still mumbling her praises. The others looked at each other and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Tian Suran's simple-minded personality gave them a headache. However, after spending so much time with her, they knew that she didn't have any bad intentions. She was just a little crazy, so they didn't bother with her. After lunch, the girls washed the dishes and cleaned the table. Xiaochen and Jianghu cleaned the living room. When they were almost done, Xiaochen called for 2 cars and prepared to take everyone back to school. Near Lanqing University, Shui Gao, the red-haired guy, and the young ninja were sitting in a coffee shop, smoking in boredom. Beside them sat the squint-eyed skinny man and the tall burly man. If Xiaochen was present, he would have recognized them for sure. These two were the hooligans who had previously collected protection fees from him at Songning's Morning Market Street and were even beaten up by him. The red-haired guy called the two of them over to carry out young Master Shui's plan of saving the damsel in distress. In his eyes, these two looked unfamiliar. Su Chuxia and Tian Soran definitely didn't know each other, so they could play the role of hooligans. Although there was a no-smoking sign in the coffee shop, they continued to smoke one cigarette after another. The whole place was filled with smoke, and the customers left one after another. The waiter wanted to stop them, but the group of people were all burly and didn't look like good people. He was a little intimidated and could only let it go in the end. The red-haired guy had a cigarette in his mouth and crossed his legs. He didn't know where he heard that Su Chuxia and Tian Soran had gone home this week. He figured that they would return to school on Sunday afternoon, so he gathered everyone in advance and waited outside the school gate, planning to intercept them as soon as possible. Boss, those 2 girls are really here. Should we make our move now?" Du Rongwei wasn't in the coffee shop. Instead, he stood outside to keep an eye on them. When he saw Xiao Chen and the others get out of the cars, he ran into the coffee shop excitedly to report. "What's the rush? Let me observe the situation and judge the situation first." The red-haired guy glared at Du Rongwei, then turned his head and squinted his eyes to look out the window. He saw 6 people get out of the 2 cars. Among them there were only 2 guys, Xiao Yi and Jianghu. The other 4 were all beauties with different styles. He couldn't help but be jealous of Xiao Yi and Jianghu. As he watched the 6 people walk toward the school gate, the red-haired guy rubbed his chin and thought to himself, although Xiao Yi and Jianghu are a little capable, they're nothing to be afraid of if they go up against my people. They only know how to crush rocks on their chests. That's because they're wearing iron plates on their chests so they won't get hurt. This kind of acrobatic trick wasn't a secret at all. The red-haired guy pondered for a while and felt that there shouldn't be any risk, so he waved his hand and said, "All right, let's do it. It's those 2 girls. I showed you their photos before." Chapter 952. The squint-eyed skinny man and the tall man had been waiting for a long time. They immediately nodded when they heard that. Without saying a word, they pushed open the coffee shop's door and rushed towards Xiao Chen. They rolled up their sleeves as they rushed, ready to beat him up. Anyway, the red-haired boss had already told them that as long as they didn't hurt Su Chuxia and Tanaka, they could do whatever they wanted. If anything were to happen, he would take responsibility. F***CK. We're finished, brother Redhair. We're finished this time. The young ninja was further away from the window. He waited for the skinny guy and the tall guy to rush out before he peeked at Xiao Chen. What he saw almost made him jump up in fright. He quickly shoved the red-haired guy. F***CK your mother. Red Hair was holding a cigarette in his mouth, and the sudden push caused the cigarette butt to fall out, burning a hole in his pants. If it weren't for the fact that he quickly shook the cigarette out, his skin and flesh would have been burned as well. The red-haired guy was furious. He scolded, "Finished your ass. You're the F***king finished one. Do you know how to speak properly? Why are you panicking?" "No, brother Red Hair. We're finished. We're done for. Hurry up and call them back. Otherwise we'll be in big trouble." The young ninja stared at Ling Chenxue without blinking. Seeing that the tall guy and the skinny guy were about to run in front of them, he was so anxious that he was sweating profusely. He pulled on the red-haired guy's clothes tightly and shouted. What's going on? If you have something to say, hurry up and say it. Don't be so flustered. Let go. Don't pull my clothes. The red-haired guy was a little impatient. He wondered if this kid had taken the wrong medicine today. He couldn't even speak properly. Could it be that there was something wrong with the brains of the Japanese? Did they just go crazy when they had nothing better to do? Brother Red-Hair, look at that woman. The young ninja quickly pointed at Ling Qianxue. She's Lord Ling Qianxue. We've met in the hotel room. Don't you remember? Met in the hotel room? When did we meet? I don't think any of the young models we've been playing with are from Japan. Red Hair still didn't remember and casually glanced at Ling Qianxue. Although the distance was a bit far and he couldn't see her clearly, he could see that she was very pretty. Red Hair thought that since Shuigao didn't want her, he could find a chance to play with her. He's selling buns at Songning Morning Market. At that time she even taught us a lesson. Hurry up and let those two guys come back. Otherwise something big will happen. The young ninja's eyebrows were on fire. He was so anxious that his voice had changed. He cursed in his heart that this red-haired guy was too forgetful. It had only been a short while, but he couldn't even remember it. If only Senior Brother was here. Senior Brother would definitely remember. Unfortunately, he was already killed by an expert. So, holy shit. Why didn't you say so earlier? Red Hair finally remembered the tragedy in Songning City. He felt as if his brain had exploded. He couldn't care less about teaching the young ninja a lesson. He directly stood up and sprinted out of the door. He grabbed the two underlings who had just raised their hands and were about to hit someone. The two underlings were puzzled. They had just provoked them a few times, but the other party had a baffled expression. Therefore they were prepared to directly take the next step and use force to intimidate Xiao Chen and Jia Muzhen. In the end, they hadn't even thrown out their first punch when they were pulled back by Red Hair. The two could only put down their fists and look at Red Hair in confusion. Ling Qianxue originally didn't pay attention. She thought that they were just two hooligans who had come to intercept her. After all, the squinted skinny guy and the tall man had a more common appearance and fit all the characteristics of hooligans. Therefore she didn't plan on paying attention to them. However, when Red Hair appeared, Ling Qianxue saw that iconic red hair and immediately remembered. Her face immediately sank. Huh? Why is it you again? What do you want this time? No, nothing, huh? Today's weather is really good. But back then, when my underlings ate the buns you sold, they couldn't stop praising it. The aftertaste was endless. However, after you moved away, the two of them really missed you. Coincidentally bumping into you here today, they couldn't help themselves. When Red Hair heard Ling Qianxue's voice, he was so scared that he started trembling. His brain quickly turned, and with great difficulty, he thought of a reason and stuttered as he explained. You guys still want to eat buns? No problem, I have 2 freshly baked buns here. They're still warm, guaranteed to be fresh. When Xiao Chen saw that it was Red Hair who came to find trouble, he was in a bad mood. He walked over with a smile that wasn't a smile and waved his 2 bun-shaped fists. No, we just had lunch, we're full. Red Hair's expression changed. He quickly waved his hand and said with a smile, "Ha, they've expressed their feelings of missing you. We still have some urgent matters to attend to, so we'll be leaving first. In the future we'll never see each other again, bye-bye." As soon as he finished speaking, Red Hair grabbed his 2 underlings and ran far away without looking back. He wasn't afraid of Xiao Yi since he was just playing tricks. However, he knew that Ling Qianxue was an expert among experts. If the squinted skinny guy and the tall guy didn't stop them at the first moment, they would definitely be beaten to a pulp. In the coffee shop, Shuigao was observing the situation. He didn't understand the conversation between Red Hair and the young ninja at all. Then he saw Red Hair rush out as if his butt was on fire. He was a little dumbfounded. He immediately ran to the door to observe, feeling very puzzled. Didn't Red Hair say that he couldn't show himself? Why did he run over again? Could it be to increase his deterrence? But soon Shuigao felt that something was wrong. Previously, the squinted skinny guy and the tall guy had a fierce and provocative look on their faces, but after Red Hair went over, why was he fawning over the other girl and bowing to her? This script was different from what was said before. Just as he was wondering if Red Hair had come up with a new move, he suddenly saw Red Hair pulling his 2 subordinates and scurrying away as if they were running for their lives. Shuigao, who was watching this scene, was about to go crazy. Originally, he thought that Red Hair was very efficient, but he didn't expect him to be a coward. Bang! The coffee shop's door was pushed open and Shuigao, who was at the door, almost fell over. He saw the red-haired guy panting heavily, and two of his subordinates were at a loss behind him. "What the hell are you doing? Can you guys do it or not? They didn't teach me a lesson and almost killed me." Shuigao didn't wait for Red Hair to catch his breath and pointed at him and scolded. "Young Master Shui, don't be angry. Listen to my explanation. That girl is an expert. She's also a ninja from Japan, and her strength is even stronger than that young ninja. We can't be reckless, we have to think about it." Red Hair braced himself and explained. Red Hair knew that if he didn't give Shuigao a satisfactory answer today, he would probably fly into a rage. Red Hair didn't expect that Ling Qianxue was actually with Xiao Yi and the others. Chapter 953. If I knew this would happen, I would have waited for a while longer. This time I've lost a lot of face. Are you for real? Are you trying to trick me? Shuigao stared at the red-haired guy with suspicion. How could there be such a coincidence? Also, that girl looked weak and gentle. How could she be stronger than the young ninja? "I'm a dog if I lie to you." The red-haired guy swore and his face fell. "If I didn't see it just now, we would have been finished. Luckily, I rushed out in time or else we would have been killed." As he spoke, the red-haired guy gave the young ninja a look, indicating for him to help. "That's right. Qianxue-sama is so powerful, I think only those two experts can deal with her. Hee. The young ninja understood and hurriedly said some good words. In the end, he saw the red-haired guy fiercely glare at him, and immediately realized that he spilled the beans. He embarrassedly laughed a few times and gloomily shut his mouth. "Young Master Shui, let's think of another way. With that girl here today, I'm afraid it won't be so easy to play the hero and save the damsel in distress." The red-haired guy hurriedly brought the topic back. He was a little speechless. He only asked the young ninja to help say a few words, but he didn't expect the young ninja to have such a cheap mouth. Why did he drag those two people into it? If that's the case, then forget it. We'll talk about it later. Shuigao's expression didn't change and he replied indifferently. It seemed like he had already accepted this fact, but his mind was still active. From the tone of the young ninja, it seemed like they knew an even more powerful expert. It was probably their boss. If that was the case, as long as he directly talked to their boss and asked him to take action, wouldn't everything be solved? From Shuigao's point of view, the so-called expert of the young ninja should be someone even more powerful than them. As for the red-haired guy not letting the young ninja say it, the reason was easy to figure out. He was definitely afraid that he would directly go to their boss and abandon them. Without a big financial backer like him, the red-haired guy was obviously unhappy. Thinking up to this point, Shuigao's eyes turned, and his expression softened a little. He patted the red-haired guy's shoulder and said, "Since we can't deal with them today, let's talk about it another day. In any case, your subordinates have just arrived at Lan City today, so why don't I be the host and host a welcoming banquet?" "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't manage to do it for you and I still have to make you spend money. That's not very good, right?" Red Hair was stunned and said hesitantly. He didn't expect Shuigao to be so easily convinced by him, and he even offered to treat him to a meal. The foolishness of these rich people was really hard to guess. "It's all right. We'll be family from now on. You don't have to be so polite with me." Shuigao smiled faintly and gestured for Ma Xiaochang to drive the car over, before bringing everyone out of the cafe. Looking at Shuigao and the others driving away, Xiaoqin retracted his divine sense, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Today, Red Hair and the others had appeared too abruptly. Therefore, after they had fled, Xiaoqin had been using his divine sense to keep an eye on them. He discovered that they were heading straight for the coffee house not far away. After Redhead entered the coffee house and reported to Shuigao, Xiaoqin finally understood. So all of this was caused by this guy behind the scenes. However, he didn't expect that Shuigao and Redhead would actually want to play the old trick of a hero saving a damsel in distress. When Xiaoqin heard this, he almost rolled his eyes to the sky. Not to mention that Ling Qianxue was present today. Even if she wasn't here, he wouldn't even need to do anything. Just Jia Muzin or Cheng Menjing alone would be enough to beat those two hooligans into a pulp. This Shuigao and Redhead could be considered to be idiots to the extreme. Tomorrow is actually a holiday. If I had known earlier, I would have stayed at home for one more day. At this time, everyone had already walked to the school gate. Tian Souring looked at the notice pasted on the gate and pouted his lips in disappointment. "Souring, you've already stayed at home for 2 days. Why aren't you satisfied?" Su Chuxia used her finger to poke Tian Souring lightly and said unhappily, Furthermore, our dormitory should be cleaned. Since tomorrow is a holiday, we can tidy it up. Holiday? Xiaochen couldn't help but be taken aback. Wasn't tomorrow Monday? Yes. Look at the notice. We can go and watch our performance. We couldn't see any other performances on stage yesterday. Jianghu pointed at the notice. Xiaochen moved closer and saw that the notice said, during this year's art festival, some majors sent their artworks that couldn't be displayed at the gala. After some deliberation, the school decided to have a holiday on Monday. The artworks of various majors will be displayed in the auditorium. Also, since this year's art festival was very exciting, considering that some students couldn't watch it due to certain reasons, the school will also play the recording of the gala in the auditorium. Students can watch it at any time. To Xiaochen, whether it was a holiday or not made no difference. There weren't many courses for the ancient martial arts major to begin with. He was basically in a state of holiday every day, so it didn't matter if he had a day more or less. Oh no, Sister Souring forgot to bring the imported shampoo and shower gel that she bought online. Tian Souring suddenly slapped her forehead and exclaimed. Then she turned to Su Chuxia and said coquettishly, Chuxia, accompany Sister Souring back to get them. Otherwise, how am I going to shower in the dormitory this week? I'm going to stink. You forgot to bring them? How could it be such a coincidence? Don't tell me you knew that tomorrow would be a holiday, so you forgot to bring them so that you could stay for another night? Su Chuxia frowned and looked at Tian Souring suspiciously. Chuxia, you're underestimating Sister Souring. If Sister Souring knew that tomorrow would be a holiday, she wouldn't have taken a taxi with you to school. Not only would we not have wasted the trip, but we could also have saved the taxi fare. Sister Souring is so thrifty, how could she make such a mistake? Tian Souring said innocently. Actually, Tian Souring had another reason that she didn't say. The appearance of red hair and the two gangsters made her feel uneasy for no reason. She was afraid that there would be danger in school, so she wanted to go home and hide. Xiao Yi was the one who paid the taxi fare. What does that have to do with you? Su Chuxia rolled her eyes at Tian Souring. Seeing her pleading expression, her heart softened and she said, forget it. If that's the case, let's go back. Yay. I can sleep in a big, comfortable bed again tonight. Tian Souring cheered. She quickly flagged down a taxi and got in with Su Chuxia. Then she rolled down the window and waved at Xiaochen. Counterattack guy will be leaving first. Bye, oh have a safe trip. Xiaochen nodded and watched the taxi disappear into the horizon. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Tian Souring's strange personality. However, he was already used to it and couldn't be bothered to argue with her. Chapter 954. Looking at the notice, Xiaochen wondered if he could bring the Miss and Ling Qinshuet to the Express Hotel. Just as he was thinking, his phone suddenly rang. Not only that, Jianghu, Qing Menjing and the others' phones also rang at the same time. Everyone took out their phones in surprise and found that they had received a message at the same time. It was all from Dong Zhiqi, asking them to go to the martial arts club when it was convenient to help receive the students who came to register. Right now, the martial arts club members were already very busy. Xiaochen and the others had nothing to do anyway, so they went to the martial arts club. It seemed that the martial arts club had really made a name for itself through this evening party. If it continued to develop at this speed, it wouldn't be long before it became the #1 club in Lan City University. Although Xiaochen was a bit regretful that he couldn't continue with the Miss, he thought that there would be many more opportunities in the future, so one more day wouldn't make much of a difference. On the other side, Redhead and the others were full. Shuigao got Ma Xiaochang to book a room at the hotel and threw Redhead and the others in. He instructed Ma Xiaochang to keep an eye on the hotel and remember Redhead's every move. The next morning, Shuigao received a message from Ma Xiaochang saying that Redhead went to another hotel after he sobered up last night. A sturdy-looking man in black opened the door for him, and Redhead bowed respectfully in front of the door. After about half an hour, Redhead said his goodbyes and went to another room happily while humming a tune. He never came out again. After listening to Ma Xiaochang's report, Shuigao immediately guessed that the people Redhead went to meet were definitely those two experts. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, Shuigao asked for the address and immediately drove off. Ding dong. Shuigao came to the hotel room and pressed the doorbell, waiting quietly. Thinking about meeting experts, his heart was instantly filled with excitement. One had to know that the strength of these two people was even stronger than that young ninja. He heard that the ninja was a stage 5 inner force martial artist, so how strong were the two experts in this room? Not long after, A man dressed in black with messy hair opened the door. Behind him stood a man dressed in white with a sleepy face. Yu asked unhappily when he saw the pretty boy standing outside the door, "Brat, what do you want?" Bai Qi, who was standing behind them, also had a dark expression on his face. The two of them had been fooling around for the whole night. Just now, he was hugging the young model to sleep, so he was naturally very angry when he was suddenly woken up. Sorry to disturb you. You two must be the bosses of Red Fur, right? I am Shuigao of Lan City's Shui clan. I took the liberty of coming here today to ask for a little help from the two of you, Shuigao said respectfully with a smile on his face. Brother Black, Brother White, who's making a ruckus so early in the morning? Come and sleep with us for a while more. That's right. What time is it? There's already a guest? Don't tell me he's a courier? Yeah. Two sweet voices came from the room, and Shuigao's face stiffened when he heard it. Only now did he realize that these two experts were playing with women, and he had accidentally interrupted their fun. No wonder they were so angry. Motherf *Ker, what's Shui clan's ice cream and popsicle? I've never heard of it. If there's nothing else, then hurry up and scram. Don't disturb this lord's rest. Bai Qi waved his hand and impatiently dismissed him. Then he stretched out his hand to close the door. Hey, two big brothers, don't be angry. Shuigao hurriedly stepped forward and blocked the door with a flattering smile. What? Brat, you still want to barge in? Yu glared at him and said fiercely. Misunderstanding? How could that be possible? Shuigao hurriedly denied. Then he turned his head and saw two young models lying on the big bed in the room. However, their appearances were very ordinary. Immediately, a scheme came to his mind. As if he was presenting a treasure, he said, "Big brother, listen to me. I know two very beautiful girls. I can take you to see them. Then I'll take one and I'll give you the other. They're definitely much better than the young models you're playing with." Really? Yu's interest was piqued. Looking at Shuigao's sneaky, crafty look, he immediately activated his mental cultivation method and released a suppressive aura. With a threatening tone, he said, "Brat, don't try to fool us. Otherwise, I'll make sure that whatever you say next will be the last thing you say in this world." I wouldn't dare. If you don't believe me, you can take a look. I'm definitely not lying. Shuigao suddenly felt like he was being stared at by a ferocious beast. Cold sweat broke out all over his body. Trembling, he took out his phone and found the photo of Su Chuxia and Tian Saoring. Then he eagerly handed it to Yu and Bai Qi. When the two experts lowered their heads to look at the photo, they were immediately stunned. After being stunned for 5 seconds, Yu was the first to react. He grabbed Shuigao's collar and pointed at Tian Saoring in the photo, roaring, "Speak! Where is this person?" "Why are you asking this?" Shuigao was shocked. He looked at Yu cautiously and stammered, We haven't finished talking yet. Aren't you being too impatient?" Shuigao thought that Yu was horny after seeing the photo and couldn't wait to get Tian Saoring into bed. He wanted to talk about the conditions first. However, before he could finish, Yu, who was grabbing his collar, turned around and grabbed his neck. "Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and tell me or I'll kill you," Yu threatened. His fingers tightened slightly, and Shuigao's fair and clean face instantly turned the color of a pig's liver. "I'll tell you. Cough cough. Boss, please, let go first." Shuigao couldn't breathe and he felt dizzy from the lack of oxygen. He could only beg for mercy with a bitter face. Then he felt his throat loosen and he immediately fell to the ground. He took a few deep breaths, feeling like he had been reborn. "Hurry up. Do you want to have a taste of that feeling again?" Bai Qi threatened in a sinister tone. They live in Lan City View District, Block 3, 15th floor, Room 1502. Shuigao quickly told him Su Chuxia's address. He was afraid that he would be beaten up again if he hesitated. He knew Su Chuxia's hobbies, favorite foods, and her home address like the back of his hand. When Su Chuxia first came to Lanqing University to register, Shuigao had already used his authority to look through Su Chuxia's enrollment file. Since Tian Wangchuan lived with Su Chuxia most of the time, he didn't even have to think about it before blurting it out. "At least you know what's good for you, kid." Yu snorted. He ignored Shuigao and returned to his room with Bai Qi. He quickly tidied up his clothes and walked out again. At this moment, Shuigao was still lying on the ground, gasping for breath. Yu heavily kicked him out of the room, and the two of them rushed out of the room with killing intent. They went to the address Shuigao had given them to find Tian Suruan. Chapter 955. Shuigao grunted as he held onto his stomach where he had been kicked. He looked up at the back of the two men and felt depressed. These two masters were really thirsty. From the looks of it, Tian Suruan would not be able to keep her. Even Su Chuxiao would be raped by them. Sigh, what bad luck. If he had known this would happen, he would not have asked for their help. Now he had suffered a double loss. Not only did he not get Su Chuxiao, but he also almost lost his life. Jingji District, Su Chuxiao's house. The two of them were packing their things and preparing to leave for school. Sour, have you finished packing up your stuff yet? Don't be confused again, Su Chuxia asked casually as she packed. I'm done. Sister Suruan is not that forgetful. Tian Soren took the large bottle of shampoo and shower gel and threw it into her bag. She zipped it up and felt that it was a little heavy, so she grumbled, "Sigh, it's so inconvenient to not have a man at home. When Xiao Chang was around I could help carry some stuff. Now Sister Suruan has to rely on herself. She's almost like a goddess." Su Chuxia smiled. Just as she was about to tease Tian Souring, there was a heavy and urgent knock on the door. Knock knock knock. Tian Suruan was shocked. Why would someone come to their house so early in the morning? Could it be to check the water meter? There was no water meter in the house. Su Chuxia was standing further away from the door. She wanted to open the door when she saw Tian Suruan not moving. However, Tian Suruan gestured at her to stop her. She could only stand at the door with a puzzled expression. Knock knock knock. The person did not say a word and continued to knock on the door. Tian Suruan's expression changed. She gritted her teeth and walked to the door cautiously. She looked out through the peephole. Two familiar faces entered his line of sight, Bai Qi and Heiyu. Both of them looked very ferocious, as if they were going to eat her alive. Chuxiao, bad news. The two bad guys from the Jiao family are here. Tian Suruan's legs turned to jelly. She pulled on Su Chuxiao's sleeve and said anxiously, "What should I do? How did they find this place? Chuxiao, help me think of something." "I don't know." Su Chuxiao was a little nervous when she saw Tian Suruan's panicked expression. She thought for a moment and said, "Why don't we pretend that we're not at home? Maybe they thought there was no one in the house and left after a while?" Before Tian Soursha could reply, an angry roar came from outside. "Tang Sourhorn. Hurry up and open the door. I know you're hiding inside. Don't try to play dumb in front of me. You won't be able to escape today. If you don't open the door, we'll break in." Bai Qi said as he kicked the door. The steel door immediately caved in. If he hadn't been afraid that things would get out of hand, he would have broken the door directly. But after all, he was a member of the internal martial arts circle, so he had to be cautious. "Chuxiao, what should we do? They were going to break the door. How about we jump out of the window? Sister Sour doesn't want to be caught." Tian Soran stomped his feet anxiously. He couldn't care less anymore. He rushed to the balcony, opened the window and wanted to jump down. Sour, are you crazy? We live on the 15th floor. If you jump down like this, won't you fall into pieces? Su Chuxia jumped in fright. She quickly ran over and hugged Tian Souring. She dragged her inside, afraid that Tian Souring would slip and fall down. "Then what should we do? We can't contact Xiao Chang now. Instead of being caught, we might as well fall to our deaths." Tian Soran squatted on the windowsill and said with a sobbing tone. Su Chuxia frowned. Suddenly she had a flash of inspiration. She said, "Right, didn't Xiao Chang say that we can ask Nie Xiaoyu for help if we encounter any trouble? Hurry up and send her a message. Maybe she can deal with those two fellows?" "Oh, that's right. I forgot about the ghost Nie Xiaoyu. I'll send her a message right now. Let her come over and scare those two bastards to death." Tian Soran was overjoyed. She carefully jumped down from the windowsill and immediately took out her phone to send a message to Nie Xiaoyu. Then she looked at the door and anxiously waited for her reply. Fortunately, not long after, Nie Xiaoyu replied that she would bring an expert over to help. Tian Soran heaved a sigh of relief. F***ck, you still won't open the door, right? Don't blame us for being rude." Bai Qi waited at the door for a while longer. When no one opened the door, he grew impatient. He was afraid that Tian Soran would take the opportunity to escape, so he slammed his palm on the door. Bam! A loud sound rang out. The steel door shattered into pieces. Heiyu and Bai Qi rushed in angrily. They immediately saw Tian Soran and Su Chuxia hiding in the corner. "Ah, Tang Soran, you're really hiding here. Looks like that kid didn't lie to us." Seeing Tian Soran trembling in fear, Bai Qi smiled evilly and said, "All right, stop hiding. Follow us back to the Jia clan obediently." Young master is still waiting to marry you. Don't come any closer. Sister Soren would rather die than go back with you. Tian Soren quickly ran to the window and glared at Bai Chi and Heiyu. He grabbed the edge of the windowsill and bluffed, "If you dare to come any closer, I'll jump down from here immediately." "Ah, do you think you're as fast as us? If I wanted to catch you, it would be a piece of cake." IOF*CK me? Bai Chi laughed coldly. His body moved abruptly as he charged towards Tian Wangshuan. However, before he could finish his sentence, he slammed into a wall for no reason. He saw stars and even had a nosebleed. Bai Chi rubbed his nose. He was very confused. What was going on? He had clearly seen the door clearly before he dashed in. How did he slam into a wall? This mistake was too low level. "Be careful, there's something strange in this room," Heiyu said in a low voice as he scanned the room cautiously. Ever since he entered, he felt that the entire room was eerie. There was something indescribably strange about it. What's so strange about it? It's just an ordinary house. Bai Chi wiped his nosebleed and turned to look at Heiyu. The next moment he was shocked by what he saw. There's something on your back. It looks like a ghost." Bai Chi stretched out his hand and pointed at Heiyu's shoulder in horror. Bai Chi saw a black figure with disheveled hair and ragged clothes sitting on Heiyu's shoulder. What looked like a face had two eyes glowing with green light, staring at him with a faint smile, but Heiyu didn't feel anything at all. "What nonsense are you talking about? Where's the ghost? Are you dreaming?" Heiyu naturally did not believe it. Just as he was about to scold Bai Chi, he saw a woman with a pale face appear behind him. He was so shocked that he shivered and immediately changed his words. "Damn. There's a female ghost behind you." Chapter 956. F***CK. Bai Chi turned his head cautiously and saw the horrifying face. Scared out of his wits, he immediately circulated his mental cultivation method and slammed his palm at the female ghost. Bam! A muffled sound was heard. Bai Chi's palm missed its target. It passed through the female ghost's body and slammed into the wall behind her, creating a big hole. "Ignorant junior, how dare you cause trouble in my territory? Since you're here, leave your life behind." Old Ghost Shishan, who was lying on Heiyu's body, sneered. His body was surrounded by layers of black mist. Suddenly he moved and swept towards Bai Chi. Xiaoyu took advantage of Bai Chi's dazed state and rushed forward with a palm strike. She had rushed over with Old Ghost Shishan after receiving Tian Saoring's call for help. However, when they saw Heiyu and Bai Chi breaking through the door, they realized that these two opponents were not weak. The two ghosts decided to first scare them, then think of a way to attack when they were unprepared. After all, Old Ghost Shishan was not very strong. His cultivation was only equivalent to the peak of level 1 Martial General. Xiaoyu, on the other hand, had only reached the peak of level 3 Martial Master. If she faced Bai Chi and Heiyu head-on, she had no chance of winning. She could only think of ways to use dirty tricks and sneak attacks. "You're not ghosts." The moment Old Ghost Shishan rushed over, Heiyu was stunned. When he saw his move clearly, he quickly reminded him, "Junior brother Bai, don't be afraid. They're just ghost cultivators. Dodge quickly." Bam. Boom. Unfortunately, Heiyu's warning came a little too late. Bai Chi's movements were sluggish after the shock. Caught off guard, he was first hit by Old Ghost of West Mountain's black fog, and then Xiaoyu slapped him hard on the back. He was directly blown away and crashed heavily on the sofa, making a loud noise. Old Ghost Shishan and Xiaoyu had also used up most of their yin chi after the two palm strikes. They could only hide at the side and make the best use of their time to recover. Seeing this, Heiyu ran over and helped Baiyu up. He found that Baiyu's eyes were closed and there was a black mist between his eyebrows. He immediately took out a pill and fed it to Baiyu. Then he pressed his palms against Baiyu's back and used his mental cultivation method to force the yin chi out of Baiyu's body. Pooh! After being stimulated by the mental cultivation method, Bai Chi spat out a mouthful of black blood. His breathing became smoother as well. Slowly, he opened his eyes and said with a hoarse voice, "Senior brother Hei, they are yin cultivators, not ghosts." "I already know. It's fine. Sit down and heal first. I'll deal with them." Heiyu comforted her and then stood up, revealing his cultivation at the peak of level 5 Martial General. He stared at Old Ghost Shishan and Xiaoyu, who were meditating, and coldly said, "You two come at me together. Stop wasting my time." You're at the peak of level 5 general. Nie Xiaoyu was stunned. Because Bai Qi had attacked the door with his palm, they could tell that he was at the peak of level 4 general. That was why they had chosen to focus their attacks on Bai Qi. Just this one was already very troublesome, but he did not expect He Yu's strength to be even higher. Nie Xiaoyu looked at Old Ghost West Mountain in horror. Senior Ghost, what should we do now? What can I do? Old Ghost West Mountain also had a bitter look on his face. Ever since he followed Xiao Chen's instructions and gave all the Yin Qi and cultivation resources to Nie Xiaoyu, his strength had been increasing extremely slowly. He was also helpless against Bai Qi and He Yu. But we can't just watch Miss Saori get taken away. Nie Xiaoyu had also heard Bai Qi's threat and could empathize with Tian Saori's situation. Old Ghost West Mountain thought about it and felt that he could only rely on the advantage of being a Yin cultivator to deal with He Yu. Having made up his mind, he said in a deep voice, I'll hold this guy back first. You think of a way to deal with the injured one, then we'll work together. Nie Xiaoyu had already lost her composure. Hearing Old Ghost West Mountain's words, she immediately nodded and flew toward Bai Qi. Old Ghost West Mountain sighed. Although he knew that his chances of winning were not high, he had no way out now. He could only circulate his mental cultivation method and gather black mist between his arms. Then he slammed his palm toward He Yu's chest. You're overestimating yourself. He Yu sneered. Without any hesitation, he rushed forward and fought with Old Ghost West Mountain. Although Bai Qi was injured and his strength was greatly reduced, he still resisted Nie Xiaoyu's attack. Now that he knew that his opponent was a Yin cultivator, he was no longer afraid. Therefore, the more he fought, the easier it was for him to deal with Nie Xiaoyu. Su Chuxia and Tian Saori saw the four of them fighting, black mist and energy flying everywhere. However, they could also see that not only were Nie Xiaoyu and Old Ghost West Mountain unable to gain any advantage, they were gradually falling into a disadvantageous position. However, from time to time, they would use some unique moves to confuse Bai Qi and He Yu. That was how they managed to hold on. Tian Saori and Su Chuxia's hearts were racing. It seemed that they were in danger. Glancing at the bare windowsill and the matchbox-sized vehicle on the ground, Tian Saori could not muster up the courage to jump down. After hesitating for a while, she braced herself and tried to send a message to Xiao Chang. However, she did not have much hope in her heart. Ever since Xiao Chang disappeared, Tian Saori and Su Chuxia had not replied to his messages. He did not know where they went. At this time in the Lanqing University Martial Arts Club, Xiao Qin, Cheng Menjing and Ling Chenxue were busy helping the newcomers register. The number of people who came to register increased rapidly. They had been busy the whole afternoon yesterday, but they still could not finish the registration. This morning they came again to continue. Everyone was so busy that even Miss Xing was called over to help. Miss Xing was originally too lazy to do such a boring thing. However, she wanted to observe Xiao Yi up close, so she reluctantly came over. Otherwise it would be boring to cultivate alone. Xiao Qin, who was busy, suddenly felt his phone vibrate. He took it out and looked at it. Ever since he started escaping, he had stopped replying to WeChat messages. However, the program was still running in the background. Hubby. Sister Saori is going to be taken away. Come to Chuxia's house and save me. Seeing Tian Saori's message on the screen, Xiao Chen was shocked. He did not think that Tian Saori was playing a prank. After all, he knew that the two experts from the Jia family were indeed looking for her. However, how did they know Tian Saori's whereabouts? Moreover, they even found Su Chuxia's residence. Did someone snitch on them? Not daring to delay any further, Xiao Qin turned around and whispered to Jia Muzin. The Jia family should have found Tian Saori. Why don't you go with me? Let's see if we can deal with them. Jia Muzin was stunned at first, but then he nodded. He did not think too much about it. Although he did not want to get involved in the family's affairs, Tian Saori was still considered his good friend. Now that his friend was in trouble, he should help no matter what. Chapter 957. Then let's go. Xiao Qin was anxious. Now that Jia Muzin agreed, he wanted to leave. Wait. Jia Muzin said, I need to go back to the dormitory with my token. Otherwise those two might not recognize me. That's fine. Qing Yaoyao and I will go first. It's in the neighborhood from yesterday. Hurry over. Xiao Qin nodded and explained to Dong Zhiqi. Then he ran to find Cheng Menjing. Jia Muzin didn't hesitate. He handed his work to another club member and ran out in a hurry. He accidentally bumped into Ling Chenxue. Ling Qianxue exclaimed and looked at Jia Muzhen strangely. Why are you so flustered? I'm sorry. Jia Muzhen said apologetically. Xiao Yi said that Tian Suruan is in danger and he needs to go help. That's why I want to go and take a look. Jia Muzhen thought that Ling Qianxue was already Xiao Yi's woman, so he didn't hide it and told her the situation. I see. Then hurry up. Ling Qianxue waved her hand and looked at Jia Muzhen's back. She frowned. Tian Suruan is in danger? Little Miss Xing happened to be busy at the side. She heard Jia Muzhen's words without missing a single word. She was immediately overjoyed. Xiao Yi is going to help? Help with what? Why would he help Tian Suruan? Aha, this is an important clue. Qianxue. Let's go and take a look. I've been waiting for this rare opportunity. Little girl Xing grabbed Ling Qianxue and dragged her in the direction that Jia Muzhen had left. Ling Qianxue was stunned. She knew this was bad. This time they were really done for. Jia Muzhen must have let his mouth slip, and that last Xing heard it. But she had no other choice. She could only follow. She couldn't go against Xing Qianxue's wishes, could she? The two of them hurriedly walked out of the martial arts club's side door and happened to see Xiao Qin carrying Qing Minjing into the air. They stepped on their flying swords and flew in the direction of Su Chuxia's house. Qianxue, look. He's definitely Xiao Qian. Let's go. Hurry up and catch up. I want to see how he's going to deny it this time. Seeing this scene, Miss Xing couldn't help but be extremely shocked. She dragged Ling Qianxue and chased after him towards the school gate. Just outside the school gate, she just happened to see Jia Muzhen hailing a taxi. She rushed up like an arrow, directly pulled open the back door, sat in and pulled Ling Qianxue up. Let's go. Let's go. As soon as he sat down, Miss Xing slapped the back of the seat and shouted. The driver was so scared that he trembled. He stepped on the accelerator and sped off like an arrow. Jia Muzhen first gave the driver Su Chuxia's address, then glanced behind him in confusion. It made sense if Ling Xiaoxue was going with him, but why was Xing Gongzi rushing over as well? What did he want to do? However, seeing his aggressive appearance, Jia Muzhen didn't dare to ask anything. He could only speculate in his heart. Could it be that he wants to see Xiao Yi make a fool of himself and then take Ling Xiaoxue back? It seemed like this was the only possibility. Ling Qianxue was extremely depressed. She wanted to find time to send a message to Xiao Qin, but Miss Xing was closely following her. She didn't even have a chance to take out her phone. Helpless, she could only give up. When the time came, she would just take it one step at a time. In Su Chuxia's house in Jingji district, Xishan Ghost, who had been bitterly holding on for half an hour, was gradually showing signs of weakness under He Yu's fierce attacks. On the other side, Nie Xiaoyu was already injured. However, Bai Qi didn't follow up with another attack. Firstly, Nie Xiaoyu seemed to have gone crazy, holding a stance of fighting to the death. Secondly, he was still injured and couldn't fight for long. Anyway, He Yu alone was enough to kill these two weakening cultivators. Bai Qi didn't intend to go too far, so he simply sat down and continued to heal his injuries. Chuxia, Sister Sour is so pitiful. It's already so dangerous now, but Xiao Chang still hasn't come to save me. It seems like he has a new lover and won't return to Sister Sour's side. Sigh. Tian Sour sighed heavily and said with incomparable melancholy. Originally, she still had a glimmer of hope in her heart, hoping that Xiao Chang would descend from the sky to save her. Even if he couldn't come in time, at least he could reply. In the end, nothing happened. It's already such a critical moment and you're still thinking about useless things. Maybe he's on a mission and can't turn on his phone? Su Chuxia didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She glared at her and said exasperatedly, "You clearly had a chance just now, why didn't you run away?" "Why should I run?" Sister Sour was so scared that her legs turned to jelly. She couldn't even stand up. Besides, the monk can run away but the temple can't run away. They can even find out where you live, so where else can I run to? Tian Sour said helplessly. Then what should we do now? Su Chuxia was also at a loss for words. Forget it, Sister Sour should just bite her tongue and commit suicide. It's too ugly a way to die by jumping off a building. Moreover, we'll be surrounded by people. Who knows, it might even become the headline on Weibo or WeChat moments. Sister Sour can't afford to be embarrassed like that. Tian Sour looked out of the window again, then quickly retracted her head and muttered to herself. Hearing Tian Sour's strange thoughts, Su Chuxia was instantly speechless. However, she was also quite annoyed. Sour was her best friend, but now that she was in danger, there was nothing she could do. All she could do was watch as others took her away. And that Xiao Chang really? Tian Suruan was his girlfriend after all. Now that they were in danger, he actually didn't even reply to her message. Could it be that he really fell in love with someone else? But he didn't seem like that kind of person. Ah. Just as the two ladies were deep in thought, old ghost Shishan suddenly let out a scream. It turned out that he had made a mistake and was hit in the shoulder by Heiyu. He was sent flying and smashed into the wall. His internal organs were all shaken. Fortunately, he was still breathing and did not die immediately. You're just a small cultivator. How dare you go against the inner martial arts sect? You're simply asking for death. Heiyu snorted lightly and looked at old ghost Shishan disdainfully. He then turned around and went to find Tian Sour. You. Old ghost Shishan struggled for a while, but he could not stand up. Nye Xiaoyu, who was also seriously injured and lying on the ground, was also helpless. Staring at Tian Sour, who was in the corner, Heiyu said sinisterly, "Tang Sourhorn, stop resisting pointlessly. Be obedient and follow us back to the Jia family. Don't come over. Sister Sour's boyfriend will be here soon. He's very powerful. He can fight more than 10 of you by himself. If you dare to touch a single hair on Sister Sour's head, he will definitely not let you off." Tian Sour curled up in Su Chuxia's arms. Although he was very afraid, he still bit his lip and bluffed. Chapter 958. Heiyu suddenly reached out and plucked Tian Sour's hair. He placed it on his index finger and blew it away. Then he smirked. "What did you just say? You pervert. Men and women shouldn't touch each other. Who gave you permission to pluck my hair?" Tian Sour immediately covered her head and grumbled. Heiyu snorted at Tian Sour's childishness. He pointed at Su Chuxia and smiled wickedly. "Tang Sourhorn, let me tell you. Not only will I pluck your hair, but I'll also make your friend happy with us. Think of it as compensation for Junior Bai's injury." "Ah. You're shameless." Su Chuxia was infuriated. She clenched her fists and wanted to say something back, but after a long while she could only force out one word. She turned her head to the side to avoid Heiyu's perverted gaze. However, to Su Chuxia's surprise, when she tilted her head to look out the window, she saw a black dot in the sky. It was getting bigger and bigger, and it seemed to be flying towards her at a very fast speed. "Sour, get out of the way. Something's flying towards us." Su Chuxia didn't have time to think. She quickly pulled Tian Sour away from the window and shielded her and her head with her hands. "Don't play dumb. Do you think I'll be scared by such a childish lie?" Heiyu thought that Su Chuxia was playing tricks on him. He sneered and walked toward the two of them unhurriedly. When he got close, Heiyu reached out to grab her. Tian Sour was at her wit's end. She could only close her eyes and shrink back, praying for a miracle. Bam! There was a loud noise. A black figure suddenly flew through the window. Before Heiyu could grab Tian Sour, he was sent flying and landed heavily on the ground. Tian Wangsha waited for a long time, but there was no movement. He couldn't help but open his eyes a little and saw that Heiyu had fallen to the ground. Not far away stood two familiar figures. It was Xiaoyi and Qing Yaoyao. Her mouth fell open in shock. "Holy sh*T, why is Counterattack Man here? You can actually fly? It's too magical." Xiao Qin ignored Tian Sour's yelling. He first put away his flying sword and ran over to check on Nye Xiaoyu and old ghost Shishan's injuries. Both of them were seriously injured, so Xiao Qin immediately injected primordial qi to heal them. "Who do you think you are? Don't be a busybody. Looks like you're also a cultivator, right? Let me tell you, we are from the Jia family of the Internal Wulin. Are you afraid? Scram if you don't want to die." Although Heiyu was hit just now with his strength, it was not a big deal. He quickly stood up, glared at Xiao Qin and threatened him fiercely. Heiyu was a little puzzled. How did these two people fly in through the window? Could it be that they were experts from the secular world? He often appeared in the inner martial arts world and had a lot of contact with the disciples of various sects, but the faces of the two people in front of him were extremely unfamiliar. Besides, this was a 15-story building. Normal people should enter from the main entrance. Wasn't the way these two people appeared too shocking? Heiyu thought for a moment. Even with his cultivation, he might not be able to fly into the 15th floor. The cultivation of the two people in front of him should not be low. That was why he did not attack them immediately. Instead, he chose to introduce himself to test them. Bai Qi also opened his eyes. Although he had not fully recovered, seeing that the situation in front of him was not right, he did not dare to adjust his breath and quickly stood beside Heiyu. "Afraid of your grandma's leg? The two of you are here to die, aren't you? Xiao Chen glanced at He Yu and Bai Qi and sneered coldly, Tian Sauer is my wife. I don't care where you are from. If you know what's good for you, hurry up and go back to the inner martial arts world and we will forget about this matter. Otherwise, believe it or not, I will beat you up until you beg for mercy. What the F***ck, when did this counterattack man become so awesome? Tian Sauer tilted her head and looked at Xiao Chen. She secretly muttered, but when did Sister Sauer become your wife? Why didn't I know? Although she felt that Xiao Yi was quite handsome when he broke through the window, she was still a little unhappy. How could a toad want to eat a swan's meat? Sister Sauer has a boyfriend, okay? Su Chuxia glared at Tian Sauer and said angrily, Sauer, when did you become so stupid? You still can't tell? This person is your Xiao Chang. Why can't you even recognize his voice? When Xiao Yi broke through the window, Su Chuxia was a little surprised. How could an ordinary person have such strength? Later, Su Chuxia saw him directly run to save Nie Xiaoyu and Shishan Old Ghost. The two of them were also very respectful to Xiao Yi. When she heard his voice and thought of Xiao Yi's surname, Su Chuxia immediately understood. What? Tian Sauer exclaimed. Only then did she realize that Xiao Yi's voice was so familiar. It turned out that he was Xiao Chang. He was Sister Sauer's real boyfriend. But why did he change into such a loser's mask? Didn't he look quite good before? Tian Sauer turned around and saw Qing Minjing standing at the side. She couldn't help but touch her face and say, then why is Xiao Chang with Qing Yaoyao? She's so ugly. She's far inferior to Sister Sauer. Do you know how to speak? We came all the way here to save you. It's fine if you're not grateful, but you actually said that I'm ugly? Qing Minjing heard Tian Sauer's words and was extremely angry. Seeing that Xiao Chen didn't hide it anymore, she decided to return to her original appearance. However, because Qing Minjing was too angry and her emotions were fluctuating intensely, she failed to control her primordial qi the moment she withdrew the illusion. A portion of her primordial qi leaked out, revealing a cultivation that was equivalent to a 6th-layer devil general. He Yu and Bai Qi were instantly shocked. He Yu swept away his arrogant attitude and stuttered, You're actually a stage 6 devil general. He was very surprised. Although his strength was similar to the other parties, he didn't dare to act rashly. After all, he didn't know how strong that man was. Bai Qi and He Yu looked at each other and carefully probed, where did you come from? Could it be that you're also disciples of the inner pugilistic world? Stop talking nonsense. Are you guys going to scram or not? Do you want me to send you on your way? I might as well send you to heaven for free. Xiao Chen stood up and said impatiently after he finished healing Nie Xiaoyu and Old Ghost Shishan. From the looks of it, these two fools would not shed tears until they saw their coffins. Xiao Chen already had the intention to kill them. He was thinking of killing them directly to prevent any more trouble from arising from the long night. Chapter 959. Just as Xiao Chen was about to make his move, a few figures hurriedly ran in from outside. It was Jia Muzhen, Ling Qianxue and Little Miss Xing. They had hailed a taxi, and their speed was incomparable to the flying sword, so they arrived a little late. The moment Little Miss Xing stepped through the door, she saw Qing Minjing standing not too far away. She immediately understood that Xiao Yi was definitely Xiao Chen. However, even though she had confirmed the situation, she did not intend to participate in this matter. She only stood at the side and watched coldly. Ling Qianxue, on the other hand, stood beside Xing Yanxue and looked at Xiao Chen anxiously. She wanted to tell him that Xing Yanxue had already discovered his true identity, but Xiao Chen gave her a reassuring look, telling her not to worry. You two stop. Who allowed you to come to the secular world to cause trouble? You've turned a deaf ear to the agreement of the internal martial arts circle, haven't you? We agreed that you could not enter and leave the secular world as you please, and that you could not attack ordinary people. Have you forgotten? Jia Muzhen did not hesitate as he strode forward, pointed at He Yu and Bai Qi and reprimanded them. Who are you? How dare you make such a big fuss here? Do you know who we are? He Yu did not hesitate as he stared at Jia Muzhen and asked. Looking at his loser appearance, he was probably an errand boy of the martial arts world. He was definitely here to play the hero and save the damsel in distress. I am the young master of the Jia family, Jia Muzhen. This is my identity jade card. Open your dog eyes and look clearly. Jia Muzhen immediately showed his identity jade card and said with a solemn expression. Jia Muzhen? Ah, so what? We are young Master Huoyan's men. Yu and Bai Qi were stunned at first, then they laughed together. It seemed that they did not put Jia Muzhen in their eyes at all. From their point of view, young Master Huoyin was the true successor of the Jia clan. He was the rightful young master of the Jia clan. Jia Muzhen was just a branch descendant without any power or influence. He would never amount to anything. Jia Muzhen didn't expect the two of them to be so arrogant. He naturally knew that Tang Xuanjiao was Jia Huoyin's fiancée. However, the two of them were Jia Huoyin's subordinates, yet they didn't know how to differentiate between superiors and inferiors. They didn't place him, the Jia family's young master, in their eyes at all. Jia Muzhen couldn't help feeling somewhat angry. As the Jia family's young master, I order you to step down. Don't be presumptuous here. Actually, Jia Muzhen did not want to make things too difficult for Yu and Bai Qi. From his point of view, as long as he could stall for a while and let Tian Suruan escape, it would be fine. As for whether the family members that came later would listen to him or not, it did not matter. Hehe. The young master of the Jia family? What kind of bullshit young master are you? After this year's clans tournament, our young master Huoyin will become the true young master of the Jia clan. Who the hell do you think you are? How dare you order us around? Yu sneered and snorted disdainfully. This Jia Muzhen was merely a fringe descendant of the Jia clan. Sooner or later, he would be trampled under young master Huoyin's feet. Yu and Bai Qi had a strong backing, so they naturally treated him like transparent air. Jia Muzhen was so angry that he clenched his teeth and clenched his fists. He coldly snorted and said, "Humph! Don't think that I don't know that without the help of the Tang clan's experts, Jia Huoyin's strength is nothing. Relying on others to grind points in the clan's tournament, what kind of ability is that? If you have the ability, then let him come out and fight fair and square." Speaking of this matter, Jia Muzhen felt indignant from the bottom of his heart. Originally, with his solid cultivation and strength, he would definitely be able to obtain an outstanding result in the clan's tournament. Although he was a fringe descendant, he still had the qualifications to compete for the position of Jia clan elder. In the end, because he did not have a good relationship with Jia Huoyin, he was ridiculed, and humiliated in every possible way. In a fit of anger, he left the Jia clan and wandered off to the secular world. In the end, even Jia Huoyin's subordinates dared to look down on him. This was simply intolerable bullying. Idiot, I think you've become stupid from studying too much, right? For a clan to prosper, the patriarch does not necessarily need to be very powerful. The key is to rely on connections, understand? If you have the ability, then go and find an external helper. Tiske, no wonder you could only be ostracized and run away from home, while our young master Huoyin was able to rush to the top in the clan's tournament. This is strength, understand? Idiot. Bai Qi mocked and ridiculed. Fawning on those in power, shameless scum. Jia Muzhen was so angry that his chest heaved up and down. Bai Qi's words just happened to poke at his sore spot. For a moment he did not know how to refute. His parents had passed away early, and he had always been in a marginal position in the Jia clan. Where could he find external helper? Wasn't Jia Huoyin's external helper also found by his parents and elders? Xiao Qin had been quietly watching from the side. He finally understood Jia Muzhen's experiences. It seemed that this brat was quite unlucky. Although he had the strength of a 10th-layer martial general, he was ostracized by the direct descendants. No wonder he had fallen to the point where he ran to the secular world to study and refused to go back no matter what. Jia Muzhen, do these two people have a grudge against you? Xiao Qin glanced at Jia Muzhen and saw him nod his head helplessly. Xiao Qin then played down the situation and said, "Since that's the case, then they can go die. Menjing, kill them. There's no point in keeping them." Qing Menjing glared at Xiao Qin but did not move. This fellow spoke so easily. Could it be that he did not know that after accidentally killing someone in the karate dojo, he already had a shadow in his heart? He actually dared to order her to kill someone. How could he be so lacking in morals? Oh, that Xing chick, you go kill them. Feeling Qing Menjing's murderous gaze, Xiao Qin couldn't help but shrink back. He immediately became timid and turned around to order Xing Chick. Umph. Xing Chick snorted and glanced at him. She also did not move. She still crossed her arms in front of her chest and lazily stood there watching the show. It seemed that she did not listen to Xiao Chen's words at all. Ling Qianxue, who was standing behind Xing Chick, was a bit puzzled. She was originally quite nervous, afraid that young Master Xing would make things difficult for Xiao Chen. However, it didn't seem like that was the case. Also, why could Xiao Chen so casually order young Master Xing around? Could it be that there was some sort of agreement between them? Or could it be that young Master Xing had been blackmailed by Xiao Qin so Xiao Qin could use it to threaten him? He Yu and Bai Qi looked left and right. Their originally arrogant expressions became a bit confused. What was going on? This guy seemed to be bossy, but why did no one seem to care about him? Could it be that he was another pretentious prick? Yeah. Forget it, let me do it. Really, even an expert like me doesn't want to fight these weaklings. Even if I beat them up, it won't give me any experience. What a waste of energy. Xiao Qin hit a wall on both sides and could only helplessly shake his head. He casually waved his hand, and the flying sword that was originally lying under his feet suddenly floated up and shot towards He Yu and Bai Qi. Chapter 960. When the two of them saw a bright light flying over, they didn't pay much attention to it. They thought that Xiao Qin was just acting. He probably used a hidden weapon like a dart or a dagger to intimidate them, so they didn't think much of it. Just as He Yu and Bai Qi were about to use their mental cultivation to dodge, they were shocked to find that their bodies had been locked on by an extremely powerful aura. They couldn't move even if they wanted to. They could only stare at the flying sword that was emitting a bright light as it flew closer quickly. Whoosh, whoosh. The sound of breaking through the air could be heard. The flying sword directly pierced through He Yu and Bai Qi's hearts. They didn't even have time to scream before they fell straight to the ground. Blood kept flowing out of their chests. Their faces were still filled with shock and fear, but their bodies were motionless. They were obviously dead. Ah, you killed them? Jiang Yuzhen was shocked. He looked at the two bodies on the ground, then looked at Xiao Qin who had an indifferent expression after killing them. He stuttered and couldn't even speak clearly. Yeah, I killed them. Since they weren't with you, it doesn't matter if they're dead. Xiao Qin shrugged. He looked left and right with the flying sword and said indifferently. It was just killing two idiots. Xiao Qin didn't care at all. Anyway, he didn't need to hide anything anymore. Furthermore, with his strength at the peak of the 9th level of the Golden Core stage, even if he confronted Qixing head-on, there was nothing to worry about. 7th level of the Demon King. You're actually at the peak of the 7th level of the Demon King? A shocked voice sounded. Qixing stared at Xiao Qin in disbelief. Because Xiao Qin's attack was too fast and his cultivation was immediately released, Qixing couldn't specifically judge his strength. However, just based on the aura emitted by the flying sword, he was at least at the peak of the 7th level of the Demon King. Or even higher. Qixing's mind was already in a mess. When she fought with Xiao Qin previously, Xiao Qin was only at the 2nd level of the Demon King. After not seeing him for a few months, he had actually advanced to the peak of the 7th level of the Demon King. How is this possible? It was like riding a rocket. No, it was like leveling up at the speed of light. One couldn't blame Miss Xing for looking at Xiao Qin as if he was an alien. It must be known that for an expert at the level of a Demon King, every advancement was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. They would often be stuck at a certain level, unable to advance for 10 or 20 years. Even though little Qixing was also an expert at the 10th level of the great perfection of the Demon King realm, that was because she was known as a genius girl. She had spent more than 10 years cultivating with countless treasures of heaven and earth. She paid no attention to the affairs of the world and immersed herself in hard training. She had taken one step at a time. Hence, when Miss Xing saw how Xiao Qin had risen to such a high level in just a few months, she couldn't understand his method of leveling up. "Oh right, you're here." Xiao Qin acted as if he had just noticed Xing Lass's existence. He smiled and said, "Let me ask you, why hasn't Ma Baiji come to find me yet? Hurry up and ask him to come over. I'll show him how a dragonfly flies. No, it's a centipede flies. I'll make him fly down from the 15th floor." You. Little Qixing was instantly speechless. She was a little annoyed in her heart. This guy is really a villain. Isn't he just at the peak of the 7th level of the Demon King realm? I thought he was amazing. Xiao Qin smacked his lips and said with a face full of regret, "You should ask him to be quick. I've never seen a centipede fly in my entire life." Little Qixing was so angry that she directly turned her face away. She didn't want to see Xiao Qin's proud face. However, when she turned her head, she saw Nye Xiaoyu and Shishan Old Ghost sitting there adjusting their breath. It seemed like they were also Xiao Qin's partners. This time little Qixing was even more surprised. She didn't expect Xiao Qin to actually cooperate with a ghost cultivator. She suddenly became alert in her heart. No way. I have to quickly report to the sect. Xiao Qin is too dangerous. Keeping him around will be a problem in the future. Thinking up to this point, Little Chick Xing turned around and quickly left Su Chuxia's house to report to the sect. However, she didn't call Ling Qianxue again. From Little Chick Xing's point of view, Ling Qianxue had already lost her value. There was no need to bring her along anymore. Looking at Little Chick Xing's departing figure, Ling Qianxue hesitated for a while. In the end, she didn't follow. At this time, Tian Xiaoring finally reacted. She suddenly jumped up and screamed, "Wah wah wah! You damn counterattack! Damn Xiaochong, you've been lurking around Sister Xiaoring all this time. Why didn't you appear? You made me worry about you every day. You saved Sister Xiaoring again. That's great." As she screamed, Tian Xiaoring rushed over and suddenly hugged Xiao Chen. She buried her entire head into his chest and kept rubbing back and forth. "Damn. Xiaoyi, you're really awesome. He actually managed to turn the tables on Tian Xiaoshu? You're really awesome." Seeing this scene, Jianghu couldn't help but widen his eyes. He gave Xiao Chen a thumbs up and said with a face full of envy. Actually, in the inner martial world, those sect masters or family heads basically had 3 or 4 wives. Jianghu didn't think much of it. After all, Xiao Yi's strength was obvious. But the key was that Xiao Yi's girlfriends were of high quality. Looking at this room, there was the delicate and cute Cheng Menjing, the shy and reserved Ling Qianxue, the sexy and hot Tian Xiaoring. Spring orchids and autumn chrysanthemums all had their own characteristics. No matter which one of them was picked out, they could all reach the level of the school belle. This was what Jianghu found the most inconceivable. Cough cough. When Cheng Menjing saw that Tian Xiaoring actually took the initiative to pounce on Xiao Chen, she felt a little embarrassed. She glared fiercely at Xiao Chen. "Can't you see that your fiancé is still here? Xiao Chen, you should at least pay attention to your image. Can't you wait until there's no one else to show off your affection?" "It's okay." Xiao Chen's head was covered in a waterfall of sweat. He looked at Jianghu speechlessly. This guy doesn't know how to look at the situation when he speaks. Cheng Menjing is already spewing fire, but he still adds oil to the fire. He doesn't intend to let me live. Yeah, I'm sorry. Tian Xiaoring finally came back to her senses. She raised her head from Xiao Chen's embrace and realized that Cheng Menjing was looking at her coldly. She was instantly shocked and quickly left Xiao Chen's embrace. Her expression was a little bashful as she said awkwardly, I was too excited just now and I couldn't control myself. You are Xiao Chang's real girlfriend, right?" "Of course not," Cheng Menjing said snappily. Tian Xiaoring was stunned. Before she could react, she heard Cheng Menjing continue, "I am his wife." What? Tian Xiaoring was stunned. She was even more afraid in her heart. She didn't have her usual carefree attitude. Instead, she carefully explained, "Actually, there's nothing between Xiao Chang and me. We were just playing around in the past. That's why I asked him to pretend to be my boyfriend. Please don't mind him." Chapter 961. Cheng Menjing didn't say anything else after seeing how submissive Tian Suruan was. Originally, she was indeed a little angry, but seeing Tian Suruan's humble attitude and the fact that he had just experienced a thrilling experience, Cheng Menjing's heart softened. She didn't care and said lightly, "It's okay, I'm not angry. Let's clean up the room first. It's a mess everywhere and there are 2 dead people lying on the ground. It's quite unlucky." Seeing that Cheng Menjing didn't mind, Xiao Chen was touched. He quickly changed the topic and started to clean up. Su Chuxia walked over and wanted to help, but Xiao Chen stopped her and said in a low voice, "Chuxia, go and accompany Suruan. I think she's still scared. You should comfort her." Seeing Tian Suruan standing at the side pitifully, Su Chuxia's heart ached. She nodded and went to comfort Tian Suruan. Although Jianghu had a lot of questions in his heart, he didn't ask them immediately. Instead, he helped Ling Qianxue clean up the mess. After Nie Xiaoyu and old ghost Shishan finished adjusting their breathing, they got up and walked to Xiao Chen. Thanks to Xiao Chen's primordial qi, their injuries were basically healed. Seeing that the matter was over, they were ready to leave and continue their cultivation. "Xiaoyu, old tortoise, thank you for your help today. If there are suitable cultivation resources in the future, I'll inform you immediately." Xiao Chen didn't ask them to stay. The 2 Yin cultivators consumed a lot of Yin qi during the day, so it was better to let them go. Of course, this was not important. After Nie Xiaoyu became a martial master, she could move around during the day. The problem was that Xing Chik saw the 2 Yin cultivators and ran off to God knows where. Xiao Chen was a little worried. God knows if this chick would make an issue out of this to trick him again in the future. Therefore it was better to reduce the exposure of Nie Xiaoyu and Ling Qianxue. You're welcome. This is what I should do. You've saved me several times before. Nie Xiaoyu said with a smile. Thank you, Master, for healing us. Xiaoyu and I will take our leave first. Old ghost of Shishan's voice was very creepy. Cheng Minjing happened to walk by with a trash can in her hand. She was so scared that she took a step back. Old ghost Shishan didn't dare to stay any longer. After bidding farewell to Xiaoqin, he left with Nie Xiaoyu. Xiaoqin, where did you get to know these two guys? Why are they so creepy? What the hell are they? After Nie Xiaoyu and the others left, Cheng Minjing felt that the temperature in the room had finally returned to normal. That's right, they are ghosts. To be precise, it should be a Yin cultivator, right? Jianghu's eyes shone as he looked at Xiaoqin and asked. That's right. That's right. Xiaoqin nodded and said, Minjing, you don't have to worry. Although they are ghosts, they are not bad people. Jianghu couldn't help but frown when he heard what Xiaoqin said. He didn't have any discrimination against Yin cultivators, but he still kindly reminded him, Xiaoyi, listen to me. Don't have any contact with Yin cultivators in the future. I heard that Yin cultivators will suck the essence of cultivators. They are not kind people. Many masters in the martial arts world hate Yin cultivators to the bone. They will kill them on sight. If the news that you are in contact with them gets out, it may cause a lot of trouble. Knowing that Jianghu was thinking for his sake, Xiaoqin didn't refute. He just smiled helplessly and said, I'm afraid it's too late. Xing Chick left in a hurry just now. I guess she went to report the news. You mean Xing Gongzi? He is actually from the martial arts world? But why did you call him Chick? He clearly... Could it be? Jianghu suddenly seemed to understand something and looked at Xiaoqin meaningfully. It's exactly what you think. But it doesn't matter. If you want to report it, go ahead. I'll deal with it when it comes. Xiaoqin shrugged. Jianghu looked at Xiaoqin and secretly cursed. This Xing Gongzi has been following Xiao Yi since school started. He even offered Ling Xiaoxue to him. There must be something fishy going on. Maybe it's another love debt for Xiao Yi. TSK, he doesn't look good. I didn't expect him to have such a romantic history. Xiaoqin didn't notice Jianghu's gaze. He turned his head and saw that Tian Suren's mood was slightly better. He walked over and comforted him. Miser Soren, you don't have to worry too much. In the future, I will be by your side to protect you. No one will dare to have any ideas about you. Tian Soren gratefully looked at Xiaoqin and nodded. Just as he was about to speak, he heard Jianghu say, I don't think so. Now that these two are dead, the truth will be revealed soon. The Jia family will definitely send more people to cause trouble. The Jia family is a family in the martial arts world. They have their reasons for coming to capture Tian Soren. However, they still dare to send more people to the secular world. Do they really not care about the rules of the martial arts world? Xiaoqin asked. The family definitely won't, but Jia Huoyin probably won't let this go. His most powerful subordinates are at the 10th level of the Martial King realm. Although you might be at the Demon King realm, I'm afraid you're no match for them. Jianghu explained. Jianghu understood Jia Huoyin's personality too well. This person always sought revenge for the smallest grievance. He definitely had many tricks up his sleeves. Didn't he leave his family and come to university because of this? Martial King? Wow, that scared me to death. Should I go buy insurance first? Xiaoqin patted his chest exaggeratedly and said with a frightened expression. Baby? What baby? Where is it? Jianghu was startled and looked at Xiaoqin suspiciously. What was he talking about? Ah, the baby is in Minjing's tummy. Xiaoqin was at a loss. He didn't know how to explain it all. He could only point at Cheng Minjing's tummy and spout nonsense. Go to hell. Cheng Minjing rolled her eyes at Xiaoqin. Oh right. Jianghu felt strange just now. He looked at Xiaoqin and asked, What's your real name? Xiaoyi? Xiaochong? Or is it Xiaoqin? Also, she's not called Qing Yaoyao but Cheng? Minjing? Yes, my real name is Xiaoqin. Yaoyao's name is Cheng Minjing, and Ling Xiaoshua's name is Ling Qianxue. Xiaoqin wondered if he had too many fake names. Jianghu nodded and didn't make any comments. Instead, as if he had made a decision, he said, How about this, you guys run first. I'll stay here to help. Even if Jia Huoyin really sends people over, they shouldn't dare to do anything to me. Forget it, there's no need. Xiaoqin shook his head. He had been hiding for a few months and was a bit tired. Now that his strength was not the same as before, he didn't want to play hide and seek anymore. What do you mean? Jiang Yuzhen was stunned. Could it be that Xiao Chen was going to sacrifice himself to save Tian Suruan? Chapter 962. What I mean is, even if they come, I'll kill them all. Xiao Chen said calmly, let's talk about your situation. You're not going to hide it anymore, are you? What's your strength? Jiang Yuzhen was so shocked that he almost stuttered. His opponent was a level 10 martial king. How come this guy doesn't look afraid at all? Instead, he looks very calm? Actually, it's not that high. However, I should be able to kill demon kings and martial kings. Xiao Chen said innocently. What? Jiang Yuzhen gasped. He thought he had misheard. Oh, by the way, Menjing can also help. Although she's a girl, she's quite strong. Xiao Chen pointed at Qing Menjing. The Missy snorted disdainfully. However, the slight smile on her face showed that she was still happy. Looks like you've been lying to me for a long time. If that's the case, let's talk about it together. Jiang Yuzhen was speechless for a long time before he sighed from the bottom of his heart. However, Jiang Yuzhen felt that it was reasonable. Back then they didn't know each other, so there was no need for him to tell her everything. Didn't he hide a lot of things from her as well? This time he didn't hide anything and told her everything. Jiang Yuzhen's parents passed away when he was very young. He was raised by the elders of the family. Since he had displayed outstanding cultivation talent from a young age, Jiang Yuzhen was envied and suppressed by the other disciples of the family. Among them, Jia Huiyin was the most despicable. Jiang Yuzhen had suffered a lot of bullying and indifference in his family. He had always been suppressing this sullen feeling in his heart. That was why he had left in anger and went to the secular world to study at a university. To put it bluntly, he had actually been pushed out of the Jia clan. Although the master of the Jia family saw everything, the Jia family had always allowed the disciples to develop freely. The elders would not interfere with any conflicts between the disciples. The patriarch firmly believed that this was the only way for the younger generation to receive the most comprehensive training and stand out. The most outstanding person would inherit the position of the next patriarch, and those who were not outstanding enough would be eliminated. After listening, Xiao Chen pondered for a moment and said, actually, my experience is similar to yours. It's just that my parents went missing, and then another family broke off the engagement. In the end, I was chased out of the family. Holy *T, isn't your counterattack a little too successful? Jiang Yuzhen was astonished and repeatedly clicked his tongue in wonder. However, seeing that Xiao Chen had returned to his original appearance, which was much more handsome than his loser appearance, Jiang Yuzhen could only shake his head, and said with melancholy and helplessness, you're still more awesome than me. Not only did you fiercely slap the face of the family that broke off the engagement, but your ex-fiancée will probably be regretting it so much that she'll cry in the toilet. Jiang Yuzhen, you bastard. You're the one who fainted from crying. Qing Menjing, who was originally listening quietly at the side, suddenly glared at Jiang Yuzhen and scolded him. Jiang Yuzhen was stunned again. He suddenly understood the reason why Qing Menjing was mad. It seemed like she was the fiancée that Xiao Chen had mentioned. He had really committed a big taboo by pointing at a monk and calling him a baldy. Jiang Yuzhen could only laugh dryly, feeling a little embarrassed. On the other side, Su Chuxia and Ling Chenxue were also very shocked after listening to Xiao Chen's story. They didn't expect that Xiao Chen had experienced so many setbacks and could still successfully counterattack in the end. It really wasn't easy for him to come this far. If it were them, they would probably have been defeated by reality a long time ago. When she heard that Qing Menjing and Xiao Chen had been engaged since they were young, and that after the engagement was broken off, the two of them had been together until now, Tian Shoushou felt a little sad. It turned out that the two of them had such a close relationship? However, when she thought about it, she suddenly felt that she couldn't give up so easily. She was already pitiful enough. If she gave up on Xiao Chen as well, wouldn't she be even more pitiful? Thinking of this, Tian Shoushou encouraged herself in her heart and quickly ran over. She hugged Xiao Chen's arm and snuggled into his embrace, unwilling to let go no matter what. Shoushou, what are you doing? This is a public place. You should at least restrain yourself. Su Chuxia frowned and couldn't help but remind her. She was a little dissatisfied with Tian Shoushou's public display of affection. Chuxia, Sister Shoushou only has Xiao Chang Qin as her boyfriend that she can rely on. You are Sister Shoushou's best friend, so you should be able to understand my difficulties, right? Tian Shoushou said with a bitter expression. Her eyes were filled with grievance, like that of a homeless animal. The Tang family in the martial arts world had completely treated Tian Shoushou as a tool for profit. It wasn't easy for her to find a life-saving straw like Xiao Qin, so how could she let go so easily? Tian Shoushou made up her mind. This time she had to rely on Xiao Qin no matter what. I remember someone telling me that she definitely wouldn't fall for a worthless man like Xiao Qin. Why does it seem like that person has already forgotten what she said? Although Qing Minjing also pitted Tian Shoushou, she still couldn't help but tease her. Tian Shoushou was suddenly at a loss for words. She could only pretend that she didn't hear Qing Minjing's teasing. Her heart was filled with regret. It was all her fault for being too full of herself back then. Now that she knew the truth, there was no room for her to beat around the bush. Qing Minjing was only joking. Seeing that she was pitiful, she didn't say anything else. Xiao Qin pondered for a moment, then asked Jia Muzin, "Isn't the Jia family's competition an internal competition? You can actually ask for outside help? Won't the patriarch intervene?" Hearing the conversation between the two fools and Jia Muzin, Xiao Qin felt a little strange. Logically speaking, the internal competition of the family was nothing more than to choose a more outstanding successor. If they relied on outside help, wouldn't it be putting the cart before the horse? Even if Jia Huoyin relied on outside help to become the patriarch, he didn't have enough strength. Then he reckoned that it wouldn't be long before the Jia family declined. Could it be that the Jia family's patriarch was so old and muddled that he didn't understand such a simple logic? Most importantly, as the successor, Jia Huoyin, because he relied too much on outside help, he was controlled by others. Then, sooner or later, the Jia family would be annexed by others. Just like back then, the Shao family looked for the greedy Sun family to cooperate in order to seek an opportunity to turn around. If it wasn't for him making a move in time, the Shao family's assets would have long been in the pockets of others. As for the reason why Xiao Qin asked this, it was because he suddenly thought of a countermeasure to solve the current predicament. However, he still needed to confirm this crucial information. "Xiao Qin, you might not know this, but outside help is an important tradition of the Jia family's competition. However, this is only one of the competitions. The outside help invited by the juniors of the family will compete against each other. The goal is to test the strength of the juniors' connections. After that, the juniors of the family will have another competition to test the juniors' strength." Jia Muzin pushed his glasses and explained. Chapter 963. So that's how it is. Then I heard you say that Jia Huoyin can win just by relying on external help? Xiao Qin nodded and asked. Not bad. Jia Muzin's expression was somewhat ugly. Jia Huoyin's external aid is quite powerful. Therefore, he intends to use this opportunity to continuously farm points in the large competition. Furthermore, the other party is a member of the Tang clan, so the other reinforcements wouldn't dare to kill them. If that's the case, then what's the strength of this foreign aid? Why is he so powerful? Xiao Qin asked curiously. He's a first-level martial honorable cultivator. Jia Muzin subconsciously lowered his voice. He felt that this word alone was enough to be deafening. Martial honor? What the hell is that? Xiao Qin was stunned and asked. Does that mean he's more powerful than a peak martial king realm level 10? Jia Muzin was immediately speechless. He was stunned for a long time before he couldn't help but ask, You're already a demon king, yet you don't know about revered martial artist? How did you level up like that? Don't tell me it's a cliched story of a peerless expert falling off a cliff to give you an unparalleled divine skill? Probably. Xiao Qin spread his hands with an innocent look on his face. When Jia Muzin saw that he really did not know, he could only explain in detail what a martial saint was. There was a dividing line between a martial venerable and a demon venerable. Becoming a venerable was the beginning of the path to the great Tao. Compared to before, one's strength was on a completely different level. In order to become a supremacy, not only did the cultivator have to possess great talent and perseverance, but they also needed to have a little bit of luck and come across a fortuitous encounter. Before becoming a venerable, as long as one put in the effort, one could basically break through naturally. However, it was different for venerables. The chances of becoming a venerable were extremely low. Because of this, venerables were very rare in the martial arts world, and Jia Muzin only knew a few of them. Venerables are actually so rare? Xiao Qin was a little surprised after hearing this. Aren't venerables one level below Demon King and Martial King? Why is it so difficult? That's the theory. Jia Muzin shook his head and said, but it's very difficult to become a venerable. In the current internal martial arts world, there are not endless natural treasures. Very few people can advance to the venerable realm just by relying on their own hard work. Most cultivators are stuck in the martial king or demon king realm for their entire lives, unable to break through. Then how did Jia Huoyan's helper become a martial saint? Could it be that he has some sort of shortcut? Xiaoqin realized that this venerable seemed to be much more powerful than ordinary cultivators. There are no shortcuts to breaking through to the supremacy realm. You can only head to the supremacy realm and comprehend the great Tao there. Only then will you be able to successfully become a supremacy, Jia Muzin said with a solemn expression. Venerable secret realm? What's that? Xiaoqin had heard too many new terms today. He felt that his brain was a little less open. This concerns an important secret of the inner martial arts world, and that is the heavenly jade mine. You must have enough spirit stones in order to open the path to the venerable realm. Jia Muzin knew that Xiaoqin knew nothing about this, so he patiently explained. In other words, once I enter the venerable realm, I'll become a venerable when I come out? Xiaoqin asked again. That's not necessarily true. Jia Muzin smiled noncommittally. There's a chance of breaking through after entering, but there's also a chance of failing and suffering a backlash. There are even some who lack the opportunity and are unable to comprehend the way to break through for the rest of their lives. They'll be trapped in there forever, never to come out. Since there's a chance, why doesn't everyone enter? I believe that there are many demon kings and martial kings at the full circle in the inner martial arts world, right? Xiaoqin asked. Is not as good as you think. Jia Muzin smiled bitterly. First of all, there's a limit to the number of people who can enter the venerable realm. Secondly, as I said earlier, even if you enter, you might not be able to come out. Furthermore, the chances of successfully breaking through are too small. Many cultivators are unwilling to take this risk. After all, a martial king at the full circle is already very powerful. They don't want to risk their lives for an illusory possibility. I see. Xiaoqin nodded. On the surface he appeared to be deep in thought, but in his mind he was shouting, Elder Heaven Ancestor. With my current strength, do you think I have a chance of winning against a martial honor? A martial honor is nothing. Elder Heaven Ancestor's tone was filled with disdain. Why do I have to remind you every time? You're a cultivator. Don't compare yourself to those martial arts and demonic Tao trash. No way is the difference between us that big? Elder Heaven Ancestor, don't try to fool me. No matter what, I'm still a highly educated scholar. Xiaoqin was startled and probed. Didn't Jia Muzin say that the chances of a demon king successfully breaking through to the demon honor level is extremely low, and there's a chance of suffering a backlash? That sounds very powerful. What does it have to do with whether they're powerful or not? If they can't break through, it's because they're incapable. The so-called martial honor level is only one level higher than a martial king or a demon king, and they have some special abilities. Elder Heaven Ancestor said calmly. What special abilities? Xiaoqin was like a curious baby and quickly asked. They can use divine weapons. Elder Heaven Ancestor knew that Xiaoqin didn't understand, so he explained, they can inject martial qi or demonic qi into their weapons, and those weapons will increase their attack and defense. In fact, they're just a little more powerful but not as powerful as you. Then I won't be nervous anymore. Xiaoqin let out a sigh of relief and suddenly thought of something and quickly asked, oh right, if I reach the Golden Core stage level 10, what's the next stage? The next stage after the Golden Core stage is the original infant stage. But don't bite off more than you can chew, and make good use of your time to cultivate. Elder Heaven Ancestor said impatiently. Oh. Xiaoqin was a little embarrassed. This master of his really, if he didn't insult him a few times, he would feel uncomfortable. Jia Muzin was waiting for Xiaoqin to continue, but after waiting for a long time, he didn't hear anything. Instead, he saw Xiaoqin standing there in a daze, and his face was alternating between red and white. Jia Muzin couldn't help but feel a little puzzled, so he raised his hand and patted his shoulder and asked, Xiaoqin, are you okay? Why are you in a daze halfway through? It's nothing, I'm thinking about how to help you. Xiaoqin came back to his senses and saw Jia Muzin looking at him with a puzzled face, so he explained a little embarrassedly. The other party has an expert of this level, I think. Although Jia Muzin was touched by Xiaoqin's righteousness, he was still very hesitant. But before he could finish his words, he was interrupted by Xiaoqin. I think, although Jia Huoyan's external help is an expert of the martial honorable level, it's only at the first level, so it shouldn't be a problem. Xiaoqin said with a smile. Ah. Jianghu sucked in a breath of cold air. This Xiao Chen's courage is too big, isn't it? The other party is already a martial honorable, and he actually said it shouldn't be a problem? Could it be that this is his secret to counterattack? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.